where legends are made. The esports oval league driving the arcade. Under the lights, engines roar, we're ready to go. The esports oval league with the best race to show. Grinding gears, chasing dreams on the virtual track. No looking in the rear view, there's no turning back. Every lap it's a battle, every corner's a fight. Precision in the daytime, adrenaline at night. The Grind Cup Series, championship and mission. The goal we all crave, speed and skill define the legends we raise. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise. Pushing limits in the oval till we touch the sky. Plus a green flag to checkered, it's a razor thin edge. Pushing harder with each second, living on the ledge. Drafting on the straightaway, bumper to bumper. A split second mistake and you're going under. Pit stops, time, perfect strategy in hand. Every driver, every team takes a bold stand. In the world of esports, this is where we collide. The Grind Cup unites us with passion and pride. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise. Pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. The tires screech, hearts pound, adrenaline's fire. Lap by lap, chasing that finish line desire. Rookies and legends all fight for the crown, but only one will take the title down. Every lap it's a battle, every corner's a fight. Precision in the daytime, adrenaline at night. The Grind Cup Series, championship and mission. The goal we all crave, speed and skill define the legends we raise. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise. Pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. From the green flag to checkered, it's a razor thin edge. Pushing harder with each second, living on the ledge. Drafting on the straightaway, bumper to bumper. A split second mistake and you're going under. From the green flag to checkered, it's a razor thin edge. Pushing harder with each second, living on the ledge. Drafting on the straightaway, bumper to bumper. A split second mistake and you're going under. Pit stops, time, perfect strategy in hand. Every driver, every team takes a bold stand. In the world of esports, this is where we collide. The Grind Cup unites us with passion and pride. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise. Pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. So here's to the racers, the oval league's pride. Through every twist and turn we ride or die. In the Grind Cup Series we find who we are. Chasing glory and victory beneath the virtual stars. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise. Pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. Racing in the Grind Cup, where legends are made. The esports oval league driving the arcade. Racing in the Grind Cup, where legends are made. The esports oval league driving the arcade. Under the lights, engines roar, we're ready to go. The esports oval league with the best race to show. Grinding gears, chasing dreams on the virtual track. No looking in the rear view, there's no turning back. Every lap it's a battle, every corner's a fight. Precision in the daytime, adrenaline at night. The Grind Cup Series, championship and mission. The goal we all crave, speed and skill define the legends we raise. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise. Pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. Plus a green flag to checkered, it's a razor thin edge. Pushing harder with each second, living on the ledge. Drafting on the straightaway, bumper to bumper. A split second mistake and you're going under. Pit stops, time, perfect strategy in hand. Every driver, every team takes a bold stand. In the world of esports, this is where we collide. The Grind Cup unites us with passion and pride. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise. Pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. The tires screech, hearts pound, adrenaline's fire. Lap by lap, chasing that finish line desire. Rookies and legends all fight for the crown, but only one will take the title down. Every lap it's a battle, every corner's a fight. Precision in the daytime, adrenaline at night. The Grind Cup Series, championship and mission. The goal we all crave, speed and skill define the legends we raise. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise. Pushing pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. From the green flag to checkered, it's a razor-thin edge, pushing harder with each second, living on the ledge, drafting on the straightaway, bumper to bumper, a split-second mistake and you're going under. From the green flag to checkered, it's a razor-thin edge, pushing harder with each second, living on the ledge, drafting on the straightaway, bumper to bumper, a split-second mistake and you're going under. Pit stops, time, perfect strategy in hand. Every driver, every team takes a bold stand. In the world of esports, this is where we collide. The Grind Cup unites us with passion and pride. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise, pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. So here's to the racers, the Oval League's pride. Through every twist and turn, we ride or die. In the Grind Cup series, we find who we are, chasing glory and victory beneath the virtual stars. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise, pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're legends of mean. The esports Oval League driving the arcade. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're legends of mean. The esports Oval League driving the arcade. Under the lights, engines roar, we're ready to go. The esports Oval League with the best race to show. Grinding gears, chasing dreams on the virtual track. No looking in the rear view, there's no turning back. Every lap it's a battle, every corner's a fight. Precision in the daytime, adrenaline at night. The Grind Cup series, championship and mission. The goal we all crave, speed and skill define the legends we raise. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise, pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. From the green flag to checkered, it's a razor-thin edge, pushing harder with each second, living on the ledge, drafting on the straightaway, bumper to bumper, a split-second mistake and you're going under. Pit stops, time, perfect strategy in hand. Every driver, every team takes a bold stand. In the world of esports, this is where we collide. The Grind Cup unites us with passion and pride. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise, pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. The tires screech, hearts pound, adrenaline's fire. Lap by lap, chasing that finish line desire. Rookies and legends all fight for the crown, but only one will take the title down. Every lap it's a battle, every corner's a fight. Precision in the daytime, adrenaline at night. The Grind Cup series, championship and mission. The goal we all crave, speed and skill define the legends we raise. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise, pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. From the green flag to checkered, it's a razor-thin edge, pushing harder with each second, living on the ledge, drafting on the straightaway, bumper to bumper, a split-second mistake and you're going under. From the green flag to checkered, it's a razor-thin edge, pushing harder with each second, living on the ledge, drafting on the straightaway, bumper to bumper, a split-second mistake and you're going under. Pit stops, time, perfect strategy in hand. Every driver, every team takes a bold stand. In the world of esports, this is where we collide. The Grind Cup unites us with passion and pride. Racing in the Grind Cup, we're burning the turns. Throttle wide open, feel the engines churn. It's the heart of the league where champions rise, pushing limits in the oval till we touch the skies. So here's to the racers, the Oval League's pride. Through every twist and turn, we ride or die. In the Grind Cup series, we find who we are, chasing glory and victory beneath the virtual.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Flatout Racing Network's coverage of the first official points-paying race of the season. It's the season opener. Speed weeks have concluded here in the Esports Oval League. Here at the World Center of Racing, it is time to go green at the Daytona International Speedway. Here this afternoon, getting ready for the Daytona Go-Crete 325. Going to be 130 laps around this 2.5 mile super speedway. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Scott Rankin. Scott, We've seen these drivers in the shootout under the lights. We saw them in the pole day qualifying. We saw them in the dual races. But now, points are getting paid out. A playoff position could be on the line to the eventual winner. Maybe see the aggressive level turn down just a little bit than what we've seen in speed weeks. But we know as we get close to that checkered flag, the intensity is going to ramp up.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it is, and I think you've forgotten one of the other big elements to this race. It's Dash for Cash race number 1, you know, so this is a big one. Cash on the line for 6 guys, which are Chris Reese, Patrick McClendon, DJ Daniels, Johnny Williams, Alan Dobbs, and Christian Ruse. And don't forget, DJ Daniels did win the shootout to start the season off. So, you know, he's on form, he's looking good, and this could be a big one. This could be a cash-paying opportunity for him.
Not only won that shootout, but also is the defending winner of this race 1 year ago. So definitely going to be keeping our eyes on that number 96, and he'll be on the outside of the front row here this afternoon. Let's go down trackside. These drivers are moments away from being pushed out onto the grid in preparation for the season opener. So let's go down trackside for pre-race ceremonies.
Hello, drivers and fans. It is Pastor Zach Woods here, and I want to invite you to join with me in prayer as we have our invocation. Almighty God, I pray this evening that as we gather together around our shared passion to iRacing, that you receive this thanks. Thank you for blessing us with the technology and means to make connections with those from many walks of life around our shared passions of racing. And Lord, now I pray that you might bless these drivers with patience and wisdom as we traverse this track here this evening. Lord, we pray that everything we do is fruitful and beneficial in your sight. In your name we pray. Amen.
Cars have rolled out onto the grid. We are getting set here for our season opener. 31 drivers, actually correction, 34 drivers getting ready to take the green flag here this evening to kick off the 2025 season. As mentioned, 130 laps. There's also going to be stages during the course of this race. First stage will end at lap 30, stage 2, lap 60, and then a 70-lap dash to the finish. And also, you can weigh in on this a little bit more because you've got more knowledge on this than I do, Scott. 65% for the fuel tank capacity, so safe to say we won't necessarily see pit stops in the first and second stage, but that third stage might be very important if we run green.
Yeah, pit stops will be quite critical throughout the night. There is actually a potential that we will see some pit stops in the short shoots, although I believe we were able to run long enough a couple of weeks ago. So there is a potential if you're not in the right spot. But yeah, look, I mean, you know, it's going to be interesting. We got the choose rule tonight as well, which will be quite critical. So restarts will be a big thing. But, you know, I'm expecting quite a slow start to this one. Given it's Daytona, you know, there's 133 laps. The big points are paid at the end of the race. I'm really expecting the stages to be quite calm. There's probably going to be an early period of aggression, and then it's going to calm out.
This is the 1 week where they set the starting lineup in the speed weeks, so we will not, unfortunately, have an official starting lineup for you, but we had Kyle Holt and DJ Daniels. They were the two fastest in pole day qualifying, so they will start on the front row. Alan Dobbs, he took the checkered flag in the first dual race last Wednesday night, so he'll be on the inside of row number 2. Alonzo King was the winner of dual race number 2, so he'll start on the outside of row number 2. And we'll verbally bring you down the rest of this lineup with Jonathan Cogswell and Tom Bourne. They're going to make up row number 3. Row 4, Jeffrey Vickery and Dalton McKenney. And completing your top 10 will be Christopher Reese and Noah Jackson. Row 6 finds Christian Ruse and CJ Papa. Row 7 with Sean Lauder and Rylan Facinato. Chris Otto and Alex Little will be back in row 8. Patrick McQuaid, who was the pole sitter at this event 1 year ago, he'll make up row number 9 with Chris Roberge and John Fike, Jeffrey Kleinsma. That's going to be the completion of your top 20. Matt Mettler, Patrick McClendon, they're back in row 11. Brandon Cooper and Clifford Corvo in row 12. Chris Hupka with Lilith Peters back in row 13. Row 14 will find Christopher Darling and Matthew Rodriguez. And then the completion of the top 30, Chris Wheeler and Bryce Gainey. 31st place will be Dizzy Carter. 32nd, Mark Gilbert. Peyton Holland in 33rd, and bringing up the 34-car field here tonight will be Matt Davies.
So that takes us through to the rear end of the field as well. So, you know, 34 entries. I just heard them say there's only 30 cars taking the field. So I think that might have been incorrect. So I do think we do have the 34 like you mentioned. So, yeah, I'm looking forward. This should be an interesting night. We do have one car not gridded. Will be the 33rd entry, I believe, of Peyton Holland. I haven't seen him take to the grid as it currently stands. So potentially one car starting from pit lane. This is gonna be a long night in terms of things. 133 laps. We're running, you know, 2/3 race distance of a Daytona 500, so we're gonna be somewhere up in the 350-mile range. And yeah, this is gonna be a long night here, Seth. And first thing to do, you gotta get yourself off the grid nice and calmly. And there's gonna be some checkups on these first restarts.
Absolutely, green flag going to wave, presented by Mission 22. The 2025 season is officially underway.
It's been a long wait to say those words too, and there'll be a lot of drivers who'll be. I tell you, I get claustrophobic when I'm racing super speedways. I just never like it, man. I've never really fell for it, and I really think the glory days of super speedways are in the rearview mirror. I gotta say.
A lot of drivers, a lot of them, they kind of thrive on this type of super speedway racing. Others, like yourselves, they see that on the schedule, and it's okay. Well, I kind of just I want to run it, hopefully survive, move on to next week. Alan Dobbs going to go to the point. Look at this. No love for the pole sitter. Kyle Holden's in the middle. He's going backwards.
Yeah, might be a little bit of fuel saving, so he might just be looking to try and slot himself in. You know, look after everything that he's got available to him. That's never a bad idea. You know, early on, you either want to be out the front or you want to be out the back. You know, and it's not that easy to pick it up where you want to be.
It's like that car of Peyton Holland you were talking about missed the start, but is actually rolling off of pit road, will join the field on the racetrack, so he'll be hoping, obviously, for a yellow flag to be able to catch back up. As little strange bedfellows up here at the front. You've got a Ford pushing a Chevrolet with Cogswell and Dobbs on the bottom. Then you got the Chevrolets hooked up there on the top. That's Jeffrey Vickery in the 21 with help from our second dual race winner, Alonzo King. The Toyotas looked really good at the beginning of Speed Weeks. They ended up sweeping the entire podium in the shootout, and obviously they started on the front row. The Chevrolets fought back, sweeping the dual races. We've yet to really see the Fords show out. Cogswell was the highest of those starters, up in the 5th position. We'll see if the Mustangs show some muscle here in the points-paying race.
Yeah, I think what you're going to see early on, you can see a little bit of that. The field's starting to spread just a touch. For Mark Gilbert, he's already been ejected out of the pack, as is Peyton Holland. Somebody's already down below the yellow line.
That's a 62, Christopher Reese.
So I believe he's elected. Oh, the rejoin!
That is not a good place to rejoin at all.
Oh, boy.
And
yeah, I always felt that one was going to go around, Seth. That's just, you can't rejoin at that angle.
Well, it's not quite going around, and he's going to hang on to it. Man, that's a long slide, but that was costly for him. He meant to drop to the back of the pack. I don't think he meant to drop that far back, though.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a difficult one. Yeah, look, I mean, you know, he can sit down and can get himself back into it, but now he's out of the pack and he's been ejected to the back. And I really think for Christopher Reese, he was just trying to go to the back end. He wasn't actually looking to fight anyone, so that was all about him going to the back.
Top three have broken away a little bit here. That's Tom Bourne helping Alonzo King to the point. 46 of Dalton McKenney there as well on the inside line. And now DJ Daniel in that group after a little bit of a breakup. They're going to move back up here, mesh with the top three. Yeah, going back to there with Christopher Reese, certain drivers have different methods of falling to the back. Some of them will drop down there below the double yellow line on the back straightaway. Some of them will go up to that third groove. The problem is when you take the route that Christopher Reese did, you're hoping that there's at least going to be a space for you to merge back up before you get to the entry of turn 3. We saw that was not the case. You've got the rather flat apron, the higher banked corners. That transition is so brutal that when you go up onto that bank, and you saw the car get really loose, and he spent the entire final 2 corners trying to save that thing, almost hit the inside wall off of turn 4, but at least the car's still in one piece. That's at least the good news for him. Oh, there goes Alonzo King off the nose of, I believe that was Dalton McKenney, through the grass, back up into traffic, and he's going to get clobbered. I believe that was the 0-1. Another one there with the hood completely pushed up. Caution's going to fly. That was Lilith Peters in the 0-1. Clifford Corveau in the 83 might have been the one whose hood came completely detached. You could see it bumping up and down there. That was around the 4th, 5th position that one started.
And that's quite interesting. I was just doing some numbers on the fuel, Seth, in the background. I've been digging away trying to pull out old data, or at least give me something to look at, something to talk about. We are like 2 laps short on fuel, and that's a mega save, right? Gets us to 28. If you're running in the middle of the pack, you can get to lap 26. It's going to be the end of lap 6 when we pit here, which means everyone should be coming down for fuel as well. But that was a huge wreck.
Let's take a look and see what happened. Started with Alonzo King and Dalton McKenney, who I believe coming off turn 4 were in the 3rd and 4th positions respectively. Bad bump there through the tri-oval maybe. Tom Bourne to Alonzo King. And there's just nowhere to go for Lilith Peters, nor for the 83 of Clifford Corveau.
I just heard from NSIM, and it was actually Alonzo King trying to take the lower line. There was not a bad bump. He put his hand up straight away and claimed it. So he's going, yeah, that one's completely and utterly on me. So there was a bit of a hole in that lower lane. That's what he was trying to drop down into. I don't think he wanted to be, you know, look at the change. Everyone jumps up and he's not clear. and yeah, he puts himself up straight away.
Look how aggressive that car starts bouncing in the infield grass there through the tri-oval. These drivers do have one faster pair available, just one. And there's a trio of drivers that may already have to utilize that. I mean, I don't see how Clifford Corvo's not going to have to use a faster pair. Alonzo King with a big hit there. We'll go on board with the 83 and just watch how fast things happen here. You're basically guessing where that spinning car is going to end up when you enter into the vicinity. Here's on board with the 83. He's riding at the back, seems like a pretty safe spot to be, and then this happens through the tri-oval.
Just watch him. You do see the smoke and you see everything up ahead, but watch his RPMs. He takes a fair while to respond. He is out of the throttle, but he picks it back up again. Like, you can't do that. You've got to be looking for some way to get out.
Massive impact there for himself, as well as the car that was just ahead of him, the 0-1 of Lilith Peters. Working our first caution of the night, presented by Chris Hubka, the lender. A little bit of a split strategy here on who decided to come to pit road and who decided to stay out. It appears that two cars elected not to come to pit road, Chris Otto and Dizzy Carter, and this kind of goes back to what you were talking about of being a couple laps shy of the stage conclusion. Everybody wanted that added security. A couple of drivers willing to gamble, maybe see if they can save those laps here under pacing.
Well, the difficult part for these guys is they're at the front, so making a call on fuel, trying to save fuel at the front of the field is just not doable. So they're looking at this and going, we want to be out of the melee, and if we get any other caution, they do make the stage. Yeah.
So Tom Bourne was the first of the drivers to hit pit road. Came off pit road the leader, so he is currently in the third position with Jeffrey Vickery, Noah Jackson, the current top 5. Checking in to see the drivers that may or may not have used their faster pair, and it looks like Clifford Corvo, Lilith Peters, and Alonzo King, the three that we pretty much assumed were going to have to. They have used the faster pair. For those that don't know what the faster pair is, that's basically where you're given a brand new race car if you're involved in an incident, but it's the only mulligan you have, and we've still got over 120 laps still yet to run, so those drivers might just kind of be sitting back and waiting out a good portion of this race, because more than likely with the speed you carry and the impact that these wrecks usually have in super speedway racing, if you're involved in another one, that's your season opener done and dusted.
The way that you want to sort of start the season off, of course, you know, I think that's the biggest thing, is that everyone looks at the Daytona, and in this case, you know, a Daytona 2/3 race distance as well, and they go, hey, I've got to win this one. This is a big moment, big opportunity, and me, well, there's a couple different mindsets up and down the field, Seth. If you're normally up the front, you're going to be running well in the points, your thoughts here are going to basically be, I'm just going to walk away with this with a good points finish. I got to make sure that I'm here at the checkered flag. I'm not going to worry too much about the stage points, provided I can get the front and stay there. But that's not always the easiest thing to do. Sometimes running out the back, you can save a bunch of fuel, but cutting through the field late is really, really difficult as well. Then there's your drivers who don't get an opportunity to be up the front. One of my friends actually had this, you know, we've been working on him. He's sort of an academy driver for the team that I'm in with, and we've been coaching him a whole lot. Come out and won Daytona race last week. It's his first ever race winning the league, and he was probably about it. And that's what it means to some of these drivers. If it's an opportunity for their first ever race win, they're going to grip it with both hands. You're going to have a lot of mixed strategies, a lot of mixed approaches up and down the field.
Something we'll be talking about, especially towards the end of this race, the choose cone. You saw it in effect. Tom Bourne elected to go to the top of the front row. So it will be he and Chris Otto who will get us back under the green. Green flag flies once again here at Daytona, and I think we've already got some contact there crossing the line. Yes, we do. I think that was the 77 of Patrick McQuaid got himself turned around.
So all of that was triggered by the fact that Dizzy Carter restarted in third gear. He had no drive, no getaway. That's why, at the front, Chris Otto shot away like he was shot out of a cannon. Number one, he was in control of the restart, but number two, the car behind him was in third gear. You cannot restart in third gear. That's just a bit of a rookie error.
Muffler Man Chevrolet Camaro. You can see he's got some pretty visible damage. I saw some right front damage on the fender of the 5 of Chris Hubka. Let's take it back and see what happened. We kind of caught it just as it was starting up there across the start-finish line. And also here too, if you look, it looks like the 5 of Hubka has quite a bit of distance between himself and Patrick McQuaid, so with that extra bit of space, that might have also led to the stacking up. And that's about a full car length of space right there.
You can just see check, 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 check. And by the time it gets back here, remember these guys are deeper in the field as well. The accordion effect's stronger. You see this a lot in the IndyCar fields, particularly on the initial restart and then all the single file restarts as well. We got a full field here, like 34 cars. There's 17 rows of cars that are going racing here tonight. And what that means is for each individual row, that gap closing speed in an accordion style situation just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. You keep your eyes, watch the front end of the field, the second row on the left, and watch the accordion build up. You'll just see it build up, build up, build up, and this gap between the speed difference between all those cars just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. See, look at them all check out. The car at the front just doesn't go. And then one car gets there, one car checks up, one car checks up, one car checks up. They're all just checking up. And there's just no pace in that bottom line. And the other thing that really kind of screwed that bottom line was that he shifted very, very early. So he was not getting through the power band and using as much of the drive. All the guys behind him are in second gear. They've got a whole bunch of torque going forward. They've got a whole bunch of energy going forward. And they've got nowhere to go with it. Yeah, so you can't shift early. You got to shift, drive the car out.
This is on board with Alex
This
Little.
is a good one to watch. Watch the left-hand side of that screen, the road on the left-hand side of the screen.
Little gets involved. The car just ahead of him. CJ Papa's going to get involved. And it's so tough to get that communication all the way back to that 7th, 8th car in line, right? I mean, it's just all happening so fast.
Yeah. It does. And when this sort of stuff happens, maybe in IndyCar you can respond at these distances, at these speeds. In these cars you can't. Like, look, there's just nowhere. Even if he did react, he's still in it.
Maybe the one saving grace for these drivers is it happened on a restart, so maybe not necessarily the damage sustained enough to warrant a fast repair. I mean,
that's a fast repair.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you are talking about aerodynamics in a super speedway race, though, so you probably want to have that clean race car.
Well, I mean, if it's not tracking correctly, there's nothing you can do, and I think there was a little bit of that.
Good to see. I believe one driver involved did take on a fast repair, and that was Patrick McQuaid in the 77. So only 12 laps in, and already 4 drivers have used up their mulligan, with plenty more racing still to go, and we're only approaching halfway through our first stage.
Yeah, everyone's going to make the end of the stage from here. So, fuel's no longer an issue.
Would that include Chris Otto, who hasn't pitted at all in this stage?
Oh yeah,
he's got enough saved.
Now. Yeah. So you only needed one caution really to make the end of the stage on fuel. You would have been tight, and you would have had to immediately pit at the end of the stage. And leading the chain, you would have been in a little bit of trouble. But if you were in the pack, you were gold.
And it's interesting too because you and I have talked about this during the entirety of Speed Weeks as well. That a lot of drivers are of the moniker, where is it the most comfortable place to run? A lot of drivers, they want to run at the back, see everything in front of them. Some want to run up at the front, but already we're under 2 yellows, and both of our yellows have occurred up inside of the top 10. So being up at the front, you're not necessarily still safe.
I mean, that's the difficulty, isn't it? So, yeah, I mean, a bunch of different cars. I mean, if you're the leader, you're not in it, the leader of your lane, but difficult. Yeah, look, going to the back, that's probably the place to be right now. The biggest thing is you've got to give yourself a car to do something with. And if you're not there at the end of the race to score points, your season's off on the wrong foot, right? So I like to run the back. It's a lot less exciting, but I'm completely and utterly in control of my own destiny. I hate being bottled in, and I don't deal. I'm gonna be honest with you, Seth. I don't deal well with aircraft on a good day. I don't deal well with driving in these cars most days. Very claustrophobic. For the fans watching along at home that have never sat inside a racing sim, you do have a little bit of control over what your camera position does look like in these cars. Unlike the real world thing where you just bolt it in exactly where the seat goes, you can move that about. But the visibility, it's terrible. It is horrendously bad. And if you haven't got somebody else in there talking you through a little bit of communication, you just feel locked in and you have no idea what's about to happen. So when we talk about claustrophobic, we talk about controlling your own destiny. That's why going to the back, you generally get a little bit of separation of cars back there. You can see some bits and pieces. It certainly helps.
When we hit the line, we're going to have a total of 17 laps remaining here in this first stage. Of course, in stage racing, top 10 end up getting 10 through 1 stage points. Stage winner gets a playoff point if they advance into the postseason. Chris Otto, he's been out in front here for the last couple of cautions, has been able to utilize saving fuel under these caution laps to be able to make it to the next stage, and he gets us back under the green. He'll have a fellow Chevrolet behind him and Jeffrey Vickery through 1 and 2, and field spread out a bit there from about 12th place on back. Might have all been giving each other a little bit of extra space just in case we had another of those checkups.
Well, Tom Bourne's trying to get that really good push in that top line. It looks like that top line's really motoring. They've got a few cars connected up there really, really nicely. A little bit of information about the guy that caused that most recent caution. Dizzy Carter, brand new to iRacing. And you said, you know, that a little bit of a rookie move. Yeah, that is because he's a rookie. This is his first ever iRacing series, and he's familiar with road courses, so he's potentially going to be a little bit better when we move on to some of the left and right turning races right throughout the season. But at least here for a rookie error mistake. But that's, you know, you're going to get a little bit crucified sometimes in the gauntlet. But the best thing I can say to Dizzy at the moment is put your hand up, talk to the guys around you, learn each and every race. You do that, you'll be fine. A lot of the skills you take on road courses can be applied to the ovals if you know and you're thinking about how you can apply them is the big key.
And again, this kind of goes back to what we're talking about, right? Comfort level. Different drivers have different types of racetracks that they are a lot more comfortable at to be aggressive and try and go for the race victory. You got your road course drivers, your short track drivers, your mile-and-a-half drivers, and of course your super speedway racers. And drivers that don't necessarily have that comfort level of the super speedway, they come into this race, to your point, to learn, also to just kind of survive, try and have a decent points day, build on that at tracks that they feel they're a little bit better at.
Yeah, I mean, one of the bigger issues is that restart, right? But you know, that's something that I would be sitting there and I'd be saying to Dizzy. You know, sometimes you have a process that you go through prior to a restart, and endurance racing teams do this as well. And one of the reasons they do is because once you get yourself into a rhythm, you know, you get that consistency. When I was racing high-level IndyCar, we go 3 wide for the first time.
It's Tom Bourne in the middle, and up on the top side, that's the 54. Of Brandon Cooper. Keep an eye on him. He was one of the drivers that really was aggressive, making lines move in our shootout a couple of weeks ago.
Hasn't walked out, unfortunately. Didn't get enough support, so he's stalled out for the moment. It looks like that middle lane's going to be the one with all the momentum as they move their way forward. It looks like Alan Dobbs picked up the lead of that lane. He's comfortable, put a few laps. So, but yeah, you know, different style of cars certainly helps. I mean, you know, these things drive like nothing else on the sim. Nothing else in sort of any capacity. Man, they're getting some separation out the front. So this top line's actually going to motor their way on through.
Alan Dobbs, you see there with that neon green spoiler and driver banner. One of the drivers in this week's Dash for Cash. We've seen those 6 drivers with the banners and spoilers during the course of Speed Weeks. Highest finisher will end up getting a cash prize here. 6 drivers randomly drawn in our Dash for Cash races here this season. Daytona being the first of those. Dobbs going up against Christian Ruse, DJ Daniel, Patrick McClendon, and Chris Reese. Would have been Johnny Williams as well in the 3 car, but he is not in the field here tonight. Saw him pop up in our YouTube chat. Good to see him there. Wish we saw him out here on the racetrack in that Dale Sr. throwback, but we may see him as soon as next week at Las Vegas.
That looks like they're all trying to settle themselves down at the moment and reform of that front group of 4 because they are just motoring away. So there's a couple drivers that have managed to lock themselves back in. They've found that pace, and they're going to surge back up to the pack. I believe John Feek and Matt Rodriguez are going to be the two drivers that get to the bottom and drive their way back to that lead pat. But Rodriguez, I think, is looking for a little bit of assistance. Maybe some fuel saving as well.
Mentioned about the fact that in our last yellow, only one driver took on a faster pair. Several drivers involved in that restart stack-up elected just to take manual repairs, preserve that mulligan. Drivers like that, CJ Papa, Sean Lauder, Patrick McClendon, Chris Hubka, Alec Little, they're all running right now anywhere from 3.5 to 8.5 seconds behind the leaders. So basically the goal for them right now is be in a big enough pack, produce enough speed so that way you don't get put a lap down. Hope for a race of attrition that other drivers get put in the same position, but they're long-term planning to save that faster pair for later on in this race, more than likely past the halfway point at least before I think they would utilize that mulligan.
Yeah, I mean, you often don't know what's going to happen. If it's less than a minute worth of repairs, generally that car's going to get back out there and be quite okay as well. Sometimes a little bit of a bent toy link or the steering's just a touch off. Generally, that's okay. You can get around with that. You may not be able to make the speed to pull anywhere. Update on Jeff Vickery. He's passed a fair few cars this lap. Just set the fastest lap of the race thus far at a 46.029, so he's making some moves. And the pack's starting to reform. I think everyone's starting to settle down a little bit and sort of knows what they want to do. I think the big thing of those first few restarts is you had a bunch of drivers disconnected in terms of their teammates and their running buddies who they wanted to be running alongside of. But now everyone's got themselves sorted out. Oh, the blocks are going on.
Yes, they are. That's Chris Otto jumping up in front of John Fike, who put the block on Jeffrey Vickery. Everybody noticing that momentum in the second lane. They want to get up there and be a part of it. Get up there and challenge Alan Dobbs for the race lead.
Yeah,
oh,
Vickery
man, that
actually
88.
Against that.
Whew.
Yeah. Huge right one. And the 31 machine of Metler's going to jump to that outside lane and have a look. Oh, boy,
Oh,
that could have gone so bad, and it is going to go bad.
They saved it somehow, but that was a really late block by Alan Dobbs, and he nearly paid the price. Otto was not going to lift. He's going to go to the lead. Somehow, we just avoided caution number 3.
Man, we are like a sixth of the way through this race. Not even at this point in time. This is nuts for
Did you
this early in the
say a
race,
sixth
how
of the
hard
way
it is.
through or 6 to go? Because I don't think these drivers know.
No, I don't think they do. I don't know if you caught the... For those of you who didn't know where I was last week, it was at the Bathurst 12 hour, and a legendary IMSA commentator, John Heinhoff, said the exact same thing about the first hour and a half of the Bathurst 12 hour. It's the same thing I'm feeling here.
Chris Otto trying to win this stage as we're going to have 8 to go this next time by in stage number 1. But here comes John Fike with a push by DJ Daniel. Remember, DJ Daniel, the defending winner of this race, and maybe a driver a little bit more motivated here this week. Today marks the 1-year anniversary of the passing of the country legend Toby Keith, who was featured prominently on that number 96. What a story that would be if he could get that tribute scheme into victory lane on this day specifically.
And the last few weeks worth of racing action, he's been phenomenal as well. You know, he's had speed, he's had the ability to push his way to the front. Could tonight be the night that he really stands atop that pile as well? And Vickery, he's given up pushing. He's given up being the guy generating the energy for other people. I don't think he's going to get... Oh, is DJ Daniels going to give him some support? That's a huge push inside.
I think that was Alonzo King got into the back of the 96. That checked up the entire outside line. Got a couple near misses here.
King is that he would have had no visibility that there was somebody blocked on that outside. You know, so have a look at the second pack that's starting to form up. They're 3 wide back there and side drafting each other as well. John Feek has gone from the lead to 18. And now losing that, they're out of the draft. They are just ever so slightly on the edge of that draft. They got a motor now, or they're going to lose them.
And now the front row, back to the front. DJ Daniel with help from Kyle Holden. Got some new players up here as well. The 15 of Jeffrey Kleinsma, third on that outside line. Our broadcast colleague, Matthew Rodriguez, he's up here cracking into the top 10. That number 61 on the inside line. Matt Mittler in the 31 up there. That, I believe that's a Dodge SRT throwback on that machine, that Toyota Camry. And Peyton Holland, remember him? He missed the start. He's now almost into the top 10, 11th last time I scored.
Well, those packs, I think, are going to reform. So John Fike found a little bit of help. He's going to reconnect to the lead pack with the help of Dalton McKenney. Clifford Corvo is looking to try and get some assistance at the moment from Christopher Darling and CJ Papa that are in and around him at the moment. Darling's his engine, realistically. Papa is going to try and run this outside lane ahead of that second pack now.
This is on board with the 65 of John Fike, trying to lead that second lane. Oh, there's movement up there at the front. I guess somebody just got put in the middle 3 wide. I think that might have been Chris Otto. And he's spinning into the inside wall. Jeffrey Vickery coming down pit road. No caution.
Is the left front on that car? That looks to destroy the left front.
Yep, definitely made contact with that inside wall there at the entrance of pit road. Vickery, I think, had to come down pit lane to avoid him. The blocks up at the front have been hot and heavy. Otto's been putting on some pretty big blocks, and I think that one might have cost him. It was kind of hard to tell initially there from that onboard with Fike, but I think that Otto may have gotten one block too many, got shuffled into the middle, and contact was made. Let's see if we can quickly take it back here and take a look at what happened. Hopefully they stay green while we're doing this. Otto has been able to reform up with Vickery, but here's a look at it. Almost looked like he kind of came down.
Yellow's out.
And now yellow is out.
Yellow's out, by the way. Yeah. I mean, he was complaining about that, but, like, you know, that's a lot of blocks for this early in the race. By the way, we're a couple laps away, so if you stay out here, you get stage points. They might just call it.
Caution now, Chris Wheeler and the 22 involved. Saw somebody else just up ahead as well. Looked like they may have been collected up. Potentially the 0-1 of Lilith Peters, but a lot of damage on the 22. Let's take a look and see what happened to him, bringing out this, our third caution of the evening. And to your point, just on the eve of the conclusion of the first stage, so this stage may end under yellow. So it's almost a single file group here too, so not certain exactly what went wrong. Oh, looks like misjudgment there. Is that the 18 trying to tuck in line? It's either the 18 or the 19. They're both pretty similar liveried cars, Peyton Holland and Dizzy Carter. Ooh, and then a little contact there from Lilith Peters.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's just a misjudgment.
It's actually the 32 car that got the 22 in the right rear here. That would be Matt Davies. And then Wheeler tries to get the car refired, get oncoming traffic here, and ooh, Hubka actually had to go up into the wall to avoid. And then Peters with a little contact to the right side. Pit road is open. Do we see drivers come in? Yes, we do. So this is interesting. Are they of the assumption that we're going to go back green before the conclusion of this stage? Or do they not necessarily care about the stage points and want to get the fuel in case we go into a long enough green flag run here once we eventually get the restart? This is an interesting call. Everybody is on pit road.
So this comes down to basically, I think they've called the stage early because the yellow was thrown. So
okay.
It's just going to take the end of the previous lap, sort of making their way past the start-finish line. So the top 10 from that lap should be scoring the stage points right here. The alternative is that actually not coming down pit lane here means that you will have to pit in, 4 or 5 laps. And that is going to drop you so far out of the queue that unless, there is 10 drivers that come in, they stay with you and you all pit together and stay together, you're going to effectively score a little bit of stage points but cost yourself the race, is what I think people are thinking about here.
Working our third caution of the evening here at the close of the first stage. This caution brought to you by Chris Hubka, the lender. DJ Daniel going to carry a playoff point with him out of Daytona, which could be very important if he locks himself into the playoffs this season. Kyle Holden will be behind him here on the restart. Well, maybe beside him, depending on what they decide on the choose cone. Alonzo King, Alan Dobbs right now 3rd and 4th. So we're kind of back to where we started. The top 4 that took the green to kick this thing off are the top 4 right now. Not necessarily in the same order, but they are all up here at the front for the upcoming restart to begin stage number 2. And Noah Jackson with an issue. Not sure what went on with the 20. I just saw him up way high off the exit of 4 into the wall.
Got an update for you. His screen went black.
Okay.
So there was nothing he could do. He basically had no control of his car. He went up and into the wall. And he's going to reform back up to where he was, but
and there is some damage on that car now too. Visible damage on the right front fender.
I mean, that's the contact with the barrier. He did get a shot with somebody else as well, and they were just querying it. But yeah, that's a hardware. First hardware issue of the night. Does happen.
So lights out. We'll get ready to go back green. Stage 2 will be at the completion of lap 60. So a 30-lap dash here. In the second stage of the evening, DJ Daniel, Kyle Holden, the teammates, going to share that front row. Alonzo King and Alan Dobbs are dual winners in row number 2, but you got John Fike. That caution helped him in that group that we're trying to catch back up after the bit of a disbursement of the field. He'll restart now on the inside of row 3 with Jonathan Cogswell, and then Jeffrey Kleinsman, Noah Jackson, CJ Papa, and Matt Metler. That's going to be your top 10 when we go back green. Just double checking, I do not believe that anybody, when they came to pit road, took on a faster pair, so you've still got a number of those drivers, but a half dozen drivers fielding the damage they sustained from the second caution. Chris Otto, after the contact with the inside wall there prior to this most recent caution coming out, elected to do manual repairs, so only 4 drivers still have utilized the Mulligan faster pair at this point in time.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on Alex Little was one of those cars that did have to stay back down pit lane for repairs. Christopher Rees was another one. Peyton Holland another. So again, multiple drivers taking the opportunity to get their damage back out of the way. They've got relatively clean cars, and we're back to green here.
No help on that inside line for Alonzo King. He'll have to tuck up in line in the 4th position. Holden trying a little bit of the 2-car tandem there with DJ Daniels, which we know is possible. We saw them do it in the shootout. We saw them do it in the dual races. But they can only do it for a certain period of time. That pusher, the water temp, starts climbing, and they have to step out of line, get clean air to the nose to cool that engine back down. Might be testing the waters here in the early going, but I think we'll see that utilized more and more towards the end of this race, especially if we end up getting into very late green flag runs to the checkered flag.
And the end result of that as well is that you don't have to step the entire car outside of the car ahead of you to get those temps back down, which you actually see from Carlos, who was showing the air intakes. You got one on the left, one on the right, one feeds the water, one feeds the oil. So you sort of manage the temperature. If the oil's a little bit hot, you'll definitely feed that side of the car out, get a little bit more air to the nose on I believe it's the right-hand side. If your water's a little bit too hot, I believe it's the left-hand side air intake you're looking to get some air into.
Take a look at how the draft works here down the back straightaway. Look at the advantage of speed on that outside line. Dobbs was 2nd coming off of 2. He's now battling for 4th as they head into turn 3.
And Alonzo King's just been overtaken. He's jumped back down the bottom line. I believe that's Cogswell. So he's got a great run up, built a whole bunch of momentum, got towards the front. Made a fair few overtakes in the last couple of restarts. Jeff Kleinsman's doing a great job as well. He's plus 16 spots at the moment, so he's doing a phenomenal job to move up to be in this outside group.
Mentioned about the fact that the Toyotas, they were strong in qualifying. The Chevys, they swept the duels. We haven't necessarily seen Ford step to the forefront. Cogswell now to the race lead. We also saw CJ Papa. He was pretty strong in his dual race, but ended up having an errant green flag pit stop, and that ended up losing him a lot of track position. He was out in front for a good portion of that duel, so this might be the time for the blue ovals to shine, but they're pretty few and far between in this field as well. The numbers advantage definitely go to the Camrys and the bow ties. The Fords, if they can't find each other, they've kind of maybe have to make some alliances with other manufacturers.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw some of the media.
Oh!
Lonzicki just got a huge shot. That was a bad bump.
Two things I'm noticing. These cars are not able to take shoves, but they are somehow able to hang onto them. I don't understand how we have avoided at least 3 or 4 cautions coming out. There have been some tremendous saves here in the first few 30 to 35 laps of this event.
Yeah, Alonso King just elects it. He just dropped down below the yellow on the back straight away. And he's dropped all the way to the back. Now he's been dropped by these lead pack. But I tell you what, this outside line nearly instituted a breakaway. If they're not careful, they'll lose these guys.
Because at the tail end of this train, the 17 of Mark Gilbert. Great run for him. Was watching him in practice out there with a few drivers, practicing the draft out in front of a group, behind a group, and he's kept his nose clean so far, now up into the 6th position, having a great outing. Number of drivers that we didn't see partake in the shootout, didn't partake in the duels. They had to start out back as a result, and we're starting to see some of those newer faces that we haven't seen yet in all of Speed Weeks, and doing a great job here this evening, the 17 being one of them. Also, how about the 01, Lilith Peters? She's been involved in a couple of incidents so far here tonight, but now trying to crack into the top 10. That second group has caught back up to the top 6.
Yep. Back up and into that outside line, trying to make some momentum. Be an opportunity for a little bit of that to play out her way.
Oh no! Cogswell goes around off the nose of Alan Dobbs. Caution's going to wave. Big one on the back straightaway.
Oh, more contacts.
That's Corvo getting caught up with Dizzy Carter.
That's an interesting one. That secondary contact, the fans will be watching along and going, oh, that's just senseless. One of the big things, you rely on a digital spotter when you're in the race car. And, you know, you're racing so close at such high speeds that you have yourself a digital spotter. What happens is when that caution flag comes out, the digital spotter switches off. He stops spotting for you. So if that car to the 18's left-hand side was in a blind spot, he wouldn't have been able to see him.
Big hit for Dobbs, our Duel 1 winner. Corvo's second incident he's taken a hard hit in so far this evening. And that was an interesting one because it looks like, we'll take another angle of it. It looks like Dobbs was making the move on Lilith Peters, and Cogswell, I don't think, realized the 35 had as big a run as he did. And when he came down, already the 35 was to his left rear quarter panel.
Yeah, so you can just see it gets checked up right there, and then everyone just scatters.
I think that's the 9 of Chris Roberge that we just saw right there that got directed down to the inside wall. We'll check and see if he ended up hitting it or not. I'd be surprised if he didn't. That car was definitely projected towards it. Or actually, no, that wasn't him.
There was one car that shot out, yeah.
Try and see if we can pinpoint who that was.
By the way, this
Just
is
looking at the 9.
There was someone. You're right. You're
Christian
100%
Ruse
right.
in the 14, I do believe. See if we can pinpoint him. Oh, man! Good thing there's all that runoff down there. Oh, but that's a bit of a wild ride right there, going through the road course back straightaway chicane here at Daytona. Great save, though.
Good driver skill as well, because if he did, normally the common advice is just to slam on the brakes when you're in that sort of an instant. But if he just slammed on his brakes, he just kept going to the left-hand wall. So he needed to keep the tires running so he could get some sort of control back over it. He managed to do it.
Fourth caution of the evening. We got a bunch of drivers on pit road for an extended stay to get some damage repaired after, I guess we'll call it the first big one of the night there on the back straightaway. Alan Dobbs, DJ Daniels on pit road there, Jonathan Cogswell, Christopher Reese, Clifford Corveau. Remember, he's already utilized his fast repairs, so whatever damage he sustained is going to have to be repaired manually, and he'll have to deal with for the rest of the race. Brandon Cooper and Dizzy Carter also on the pit lane getting damaged fixed from this, our fourth caution of the evening. John Fike going to inherit the race lead here. He'll have Kyle Holden, Matthew Rodriguez, Chris Hubka, and CJ Papa behind him for the top 5. Update on the 5 of Chris Hubka. He has now utilized his fast repair, was involved in the second caution, elected to just manually repair the race car, and now decides to utilize his mulligan. So he'll be up here, up to speed inside of the top 5. Looks like the 18 of Dizzy Carter going around to get a lap back. Should have us with all 34 cars back on the lead lap for this upcoming restart.
Yeah, and you can just see the shenanigans of everyone just sort of choosing to come in, and I think somebody just said Dizzy Carter's just he's down the back. I think he's back on the lead lap now, which is convenient for him, but he's got a long, long way to go. I think he might have just been the wait by, I think?
Might have been.
No, he just came out of the pit lane.
Fields on the back straightaway going into 3. Dizzy might be able to catch up. It's going to be really close. He's definitely going to have to book it.
Okay. He's going to get a penalty. I guarantee you he's going to get a penalty. And the reason why? He was behind... He missed getting out from behind the pace car on its way past pit lane. And he's overtaken the pace car effectively to go get his lap back. So Dizzy Carter should be staying off the lead lap here, but scored currently at the tail end of the lead lap.
Chris Roberge and Clifford Corveau still on pit road. Doesn't look like they're going to get off of pit lane before the leaders come around here for the restart, so they'll more than likely fall a lap down. As John Fike's going to bring us down here through the tri-oval, and what do you say, Scott? Let's have everybody turn up their speakers. What do you say we give them a turn it up here this evening?
Hell yeah, let's do it, baby.
thundering around Daytona, over 180 miles per hour. Car coming to pit road, that is the Clifford Corvo machine. It's been a tough Daytona night for him so far, involved in 2 of our cautions. Big hits sustained in both of them. Just trying to leave Daytona with at least a feasible finish. I mean, a lot of these drivers during the course of this race, and we'll see this during the course of the season as well, they may not be up to speed, they may be very damaged and off the pace, but they'll try to vulture their way to a somewhat decent finish, hoping that especially super speedway races will continue to be a race of attrition. They can maybe pick up a position or 2. That's a position or a point or 2 towards potentially making it into the playoffs, which could be very important at the end of the regular season.
Yeah, you got to put points on the board. That's the biggest. You're here, you've registered for it. Unless there are certain circumstances where the car will say, you know, too much damage was done. You blow an engine, that's a half-hour repair as well. So those are the circumstances where I'd be putting it on the hauler and saying, hey, we're out of here, we're done for the evening. Occasionally, you can get quite severe steering damage as well. You know, anything sort of upwards of 10 minutes, I'm putting my hand up and going, yeah, we're done here. Unless we get a bunch of cautions back to back. I'll keep an eye on it as the repairs are going. If I don't get those cautions in the right time period, I'm basically done. Length of the race here, it's long enough to recover from maybe 4 or 5 laps down if you can get lucky with the caution count, but you've got to be 4 or 5 laps down right now. Any later into this race, you're never going to recover that.
Looking at the 8 of Patrick McClendon right now, he would be the leader of our Dash for Cash drivers, and as I'm observing the field here as well, we mentioned about the fact that there was one driver. Oh, we got a wreck in the back! Patrick McQuaid! Several others in the tri-oval. Caution's gonna wave again. That is, I believe, is that the 69 of Alex Little there as well? A couple of cars scattered down to the inside on the exit of the tri-oval. One of those, I believe, might have been the 27 of Jonathan Cogswell.
Someone just said they weren't happy with the 22. So, that's all just kicked off.
22 being Chris Wheeler.
I think Jeff Vickery might have driven through the pit lane to avoid the wreck as well, so he's got himself an issue. But yeah, Chris Wheeler. And the other thing was that it was something to do with DJ Daniels. DJ Daniels basically came on and said, hey, we had this saved. Why did I get involved in this one?
Here's a look. It's Christian Ruse into the back of Patrick McQuaid. Alex Little indeed involved. He's the car that's back-to-back there with the 77. Tri-oval is the most sensitive portion of the racetrack for any race car because when you're in the corner, at least you have the banking to lean on. When you're on the straightaway, car is pretty plain, it's pretty easy to drive, but you've got both of those scenarios. The car is super light when you're through the tri-oval, and let's see if there is a bump from the 14 to... Yeah, there might have been a checkup in front of the 77, actually, that led to the contact of Ruse into his back bumper.
I mean, they were all on top of each other at that point in time, weren't they? Which is, you know, middle of the pack. You don't want to be that close. The only reason to be that close to another car is if there's a checkup happening and you're responding to it, or you're actually doing the pushing. You're not pushing anyone that far back.
And he talked about that follow-up wreck. Alonzo King also involved. You mentioned DJ Daniel. Let's see how they're collected up. Oh, right there, 22. Went down, came back up. Got the 96 of Daniel up into the 80 of Alonzo King.
What that was actually caused about, and what I heard, DJ Daniels was really not happy about how this one comes across, is if you actually get the shot from the 22, he's trying to avoid the wreck, but also not drive through the pit lane because you get yourself a penalty for avoiding a wreck through the pit lane. But the way that this league works is just watch where he's going. So he's avoided the wreck. He's recognized I've got to take the grass to get away from this. And he's trying to stay on the right-hand side of that green cone. And as he's doing that, he collects DJ Daniels. Now, it's a mixture. There's no left hand down in that car. And if I was in his position, I would be trying to cut as far as I possibly can. Get away from it. Put some distance between yourself. Give yourself as much space as you possibly need to make sure you don't end up in it. Would be my biggest thing. So he cuts the grass here, but then he just runs basically straight across the infield.
Chris Otto, the 88 in front of him, appeared to do the exact same thing.
But I mean, this is a driver decision thing. They've already said, and Jeffrey Vickers has avoided wrecks twice tonight already by cutting through the pit lane prior to that one. So that would be his third time he's avoided a wreck by cutting through the pit lane. He's trying to prevent himself from getting his car involved in things. And the admins have made it very, very clear, if the penalty is related to avoiding the incident, the flag will be cleared. It's an iRacing black flag. It's an automated system. It's going to throw penalties for speeding in the pit lane because he's doing 2 to 3 times the pit lane speed limit. So it is a very legitimate penalty that iRacing has handled. It's just not legitimate to the race circumstance. You would rather drivers use that access space to avoid an incident if they can.
So we're about halfway through our second stage tonight. Stage completion for stage 2 be at lap 60, and then 70 laps for the third and final stage. Working our 5th caution flag of the night. Pole sitter Kyle Holden going to be the one looks like that'll get us back under green. I want to remind everybody that tomorrow night we've got the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series, their 64th season. We've already got the defending champion Tim Nofsker, a 2-time winner last week. Saw the Cinderella story of Bob Dixon getting his first career win in the series. Who will be next? That's tomorrow night as our coverage begins at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on the Flatout Racing Network. And also considering next week here for these drivers in the EOL Grind Cup Series, it's a bit of a question mark right now as to whether we'll be bringing you coverage of their upcoming race next week from Las Vegas. But if we are not here next Wednesday night, we will be here 2 weeks from tonight to bring you Auto Club Speedway. That'll be on February the 19th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So stay tuned. We may be here next Wednesday night, but if we're not, we'll definitely be here in 2 weeks, and we'll cover everything that happened at Las Vegas in the Auto Club pre-race. That's Kyle Holden and John Fike. That's going to be the front row for this upcoming restart, and we're tearing up an awful lot of race cars here, Scott. It's kind of bringing up the question, how many drivers, how many competitive cars are we going to have left, not only when we cross into the second half of this race, but when it comes down, when the pay window opens in the close of this race?
Yeah, so, we're not even at the halfway point yet, and we've already lost 4 cars off the lead lap, and it looks like Clifford Corvo is actually done for the day. Not tracking him anymore, and he's at 6 lap down, so that's far enough back. I was actually going to talk about one of the other drivers that's also on pit lane taking repairs right now. Actually, I think Corvo is done for the day. Alex Little, I want to say a shout out to him. He's done something pretty rare. He's managed to win himself an iRacing Daytona 24-hour this year. So, in the middle of all this running a Daytona over the last couple of weeks, he's managed to go off and get some work. Big shout out.
Might be one of the drivers in the field here that would like to turn left exiting out of the tri-oval here at Daytona. Run the road course configuration rather than the super speedway configuration.
In these cars, Seth, no, thank
you.
The brakes,
Okay.
I do not like the brakes on these cars. Oh, here we go.
Got one in the wall. That was Tom Bourne, the 16. I don't know if he got forced up there, if he was trying to drop back. A lot of drivers darting low to avoid him. Looks like everybody kept it pointed in the right direction. But that really split up the field once again. Only about maybe a dozen drivers in this lead group. Then another 2 to 3 tenths back to a group of about 3. Then another car length or 2 back to another dozen drivers. They'll all probably accordion right back up again here.
So that was on that one. Look back at that. I believe it was Chris Darling and Tom Bourne got together that put Tom into the wall there, but Tom was definitely not clear right side. So Chris Darling will be asking a few questions in that one. But, back in, he's dropped out of the pack, which will be a difficult recovery for him now, but car is still rolling. No meatball flag. And there's no meatball flags among any of the drivers at this point in time as well. So everyone is still out there, everyone is still turning laps apart from Corrigan.
So you mentioned about Clifford Corveau out of the race. Another driver that is still sitting on pit road, had a great effort in Speed Weeks, had great starting track position here this afternoon, was our dual 2-race winner, Alonzo King. He had already utilized his faster pair, was front and center involved in the follow-up wreck there through the tri-oval. He is still sitting on pit road, currently 5 laps down and counting. Doesn't look like what was initially, when the green flag flew to start this thing, going to be a very good points-paying race for the driver in the number 80 machine.
Difficult day at the office. One of the big things I'm seeing in the pack at the moment, Seth, is a lot of check-ups, and realistically, you don't manage to check up by jumping on the brake pedal. You actually manage it with throttle pressure. You want to predict the checkup coming. If you can see it a few cars ahead of you, that there's going to be some separation in those cars. At some stage, those cars are going to come back together. And as a driver, what you're trying to do at all times, if you're third or fourth in the line, you're trying to stay as close to the car ahead of you without actually touching them as you possibly can to push them. Fourth a little bit further back than third in the line. And second place car needs to be on that car's bumper. All of the cars not making contact with the car ahead of them, or not trying to put energy on the car ahead of them. That's what causes accidents. Now, if you're coming in and you're deeper in the field and you're not trying to overtake a few people, you actually want to maintain your distance to the car ahead. Give yourself a little bit of breathing room. If you jump on the brakes, the guy behind you is going to respond to that and jump on the brakes as well. Whereas you manage it with throttle pressure, the gap between the cars don't sort of work like an elastic band. They spread apart, they spring back together. Spread apart, snap back together. That's what causes the big checkups. That's what causes accidents. So the guys out there managing the throttle pressure, and it's not a complete lift out of the gas. It's moderating that throttle pressure the entire time, which is, well, as my body gets older, and I'm only in my 30s, super speedway racing gets more and more intense on the right leg. I'll tell you that much.
I'm in my 30s as well, and I'm with you. I'm with you on the old feeling.
Yeah, it's not getting easier for us in the 30s. Now, we got nothing to complain about compared to some of the drivers in the field. That is certainly for sure. But I am feeling stiffer and stiffer after every racing section. It's not getting easier.
Sean Lauder in the 12 now up in the top 5. Highest he's run so far this afternoon. There's a lot of drivers we haven't talked about so far in this race, and that's actually in some ways a good thing because it's meant that they've kept their nose clean, they've been able to stay out of trouble, and now we're starting to see them make some good forward progress here up into the top 10. And going back to your point about these cars as well, I mean, these are big cars, these next-gen machines. They punch a big hole in the air. And we talked with a number of drivers during the course of Speed Weeks. I specifically remember when we talked with Kyle Holden at the conclusion of the shootout, when he made that move on DJ Daniel to try and win the shootout there in that photo finish. He was able to generate a massive run out of turn 4, and he and a number of other drivers have remarked it is a lot easier with these race cars to be able to utilize the draft to generate a run. We've obviously seen them be able to lock bumpers with the 2-car tandems. With that being said, that second, third, fourth car in line able to get a huge tow down the back straightaway or through the tri-oval in the front straightaway leads to the more massive checkup. As contact back there, there goes Fike around off the nose of Jeff Kleinsma.
I think we're going to stay green.
We are.
Off the racing surface, that it will stay green.
Kleinsma in the 15, Fike in the 65. Whoa.
Code Brown.
And you can see that the left front suspension on the 65 is pointing definitely the wrong way. I think that left front tire might be pointing to the 2 o'clock. Kleinsma as well.
Back in a massive way too, Seth.
Is that left front even rolling? I don't think so. I think that left front is completely lodged right now. He's driving with 3 wheels. Both cars going to make it onto pit road, though.
Yeah, he's doing a phenomenal job of getting that car back. I cannot tell you. No, it is rotating. The front car is rotating just barely. That might be day over for him.
Let's take a look at what happened here. Hopefully we don't end up having another caution come out when we're in a replay like we had the last time, but here's a look at it. Is that Cooper? 54, I think.
I wonder whether or not he got sucked up right there, because the thing is, he got a little bit, you know, was jiggling about in the corner. And the problem is, unless I was actually talking to Jada about this, about a Mercedes AMG GT3, and we were talking about the way that the air works over the cars and how they generate the grip. No, it's actually the car on the outside lane that comes down. I mean, it does bubble. So it's on both cars here. Both cars definitely could have done more. Kleinsma is the least egregious of them, but he definitely could have held a better line.
And caution is out. Not sure who this one involved, but the yellow flag will wave for the 6th time here tonight. Chris Hubka on pit road. And DJ Daniels may be done for the night. He's not showing up on my scoring any longer. Oh, now he's back. Hubka actually was on pit road, it looked like, for an unscheduled stop just before Fike and Kleinsma came to pit road. Not really sure what brought this yellow flag out.
I'm seeing there was an incident between Rodriguez and Cogswell that's being investigated by race control. I don't know what it is.
We'll find the 61 and the 27 here. Oh, yep.
Unless it's...
Oh, yep, back straightaway. I think I saw Chris Otto in the middle of that. Was on the back straightaway.
Chris Otto and Matt Metler appear to be the two cars that have gotten together.
Here's a look at it.
But it's caused by a push, I believe, from Sean Lauder. So keep your eye on the blue and white car. Yeah.
17 of Gilbert. Getting a little piece of that there on the passenger side. It also looked like the car in front, that might have been, was that Dalton McKenney in the 46, I think? There was a lot of movement out of his race car as well. I don't know if that contributed to the 88 going around. Here's a look from the aerial view. Watch the 46 kind of dart from right to left there. Brandon Cooper, Matthew Rodriguez, Cogswell all collected up there, sandwiched into the outside wall.
So many cars caught up, and I believe we're starting to get to the point where we're actually getting some retirements. Alonso King is 9 laps down, by the way, Seth. So he's been caught up in a few of these wrecks. Chris Hubka's gone to 3 laps down. Liddell's back out there with a slightly bent up race car, but he is 3 laps down as well. Actually, his car's looking a lot better.
I believe, if scoring is showing this correctly, both John Fike and Jeffrey Kleinsma, who were involved in the previous back straightaway incident that didn't bring out a yellow, came down pit road, were able to, I think they both took on a faster pair, and returned to the track on the tail end of the lead lap before that caution flew, so that caution saved them from going a lap down.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, this is... I've got to be honest, Seth, I'm not enjoying the driving behavior. There's so many people that are bobbling about in the lanes tonight, and that's causing... The two big things that are causing wrecks here tonight are checkups and bobbling about in the lanes. Watch the movement in the lanes. That's the secondary impact. That one's a little bit of a gap whack, so getting involved there.
Getting on board here with the 88 of Chris Otto, who has a pretty good look as what you're talking about with the movement. Watch the 46 out his windshield. And I'm with you. I understand that you have to push and you have to keep the draft tight to be able to make your line move, but we talked about it here this evening. I mean, it's 130 laps. It's not a shootout like we had during the preseason. It's not a qualifying race where there's no points on the line. This is the first points-paying race of the season. You're setting the tone, really, for what you're going to have to do, whether you're going to have to gain points you may have lost here this evening back in the next couple of weeks, or build off of momentum if you have a good points-paying day or even a race victory. I'm honestly amazed that we're already up to the 6th caution of the evening here. I thought we would have seen these drivers rein it in just a little bit more. What we're seeing here is what I would have expected to see, closing on 40 laps to go, 30 laps to go, somewhere in that vicinity. But we've got a lot of torn-up race cars, a lot of drivers off the lead lap, a lot of which we're looking at during the course of Speed Weeks as prime contenders to be up here in the conversation for this checkered flag at the end of the night.
Well, let's walk through the drivers that are now multiple laps down. Alex Liddell, Chris Hubka, both 3 laps down. Alonso King's got back to 8 down. So he did move up 1 from 9, and Clifford Corrivo's 18 down. So there's only been 18 laps since Corrivo left the server. The race pace is incredibly slow here tonight. At this point, we are 51 laps in, and we are an hour and 7 minutes since the racing started. So, we're going to be over 2.5 hours to get to the conclusion of this thing. It's going to be a long night at the office, though. I hope you poured yourself an extra pot of coffee.
I might have a backup for the backup. Just roughly looking, at least a dozen drivers have now had to utilize their faster pair. And again, the early yellows that we've had is kind of completely facelifted the drivers that we have up here at the front. You now got Patrick McClendon, the highest of the Dash for Cash drivers up here, in the 2nd position. I've also noticed that the 11 of Christopher Darling is up inside of the top 5 in 5th, and Rylan Facinato in that bright red number 25 Pepsi Chevrolet. He's now made his way up into the top 10, currently running in 6th. So a number of drivers that have been able to stay out of the bedlam of the first 60 laps, reaping the rewards here as we are approaching halfway in the next, next 5 to 7 laps or so.
You want to see a bunch of right now, Seth? There's actually drivers giving each other a lot more space. So looks like they might have started to figure it out. Caution's out for something down the back.
Yep, caution out. It looks like it's Matthew Rodriguez, Christopher Reese, Jonathan Cogswell in that. Chris Hubka. Is that Tom Bourne I think I see through the smoke? 16 of Tom Bourne. Smoke billowing from underneath that machine.
That's an engine. So Has Tom Bourne already burned his faster pair?
No, he still has his faster pair in reserve.
It's going now.
Yep. Hubka has already burned his faster pair. That car is badly mangled on the right front. At least the 3rd incident he's been involved in.
Yeah. So that might be where he finally calls it for the day.
What happens here? Is it an errant bump from Bourne to Rodriguez down the back? Oh, look at the closing rate. They were catching up. I think that was to the 18 of Dizzy Carter.
So the difficult one, remember I was saying it's the closing speed? And Rodriguez is sort of, he's trying to lift out because he knows he can't go racing up to the rear bumper of that pack, and he lifts a tiny bit more than Bourne does, and that's why that one happens. If you actually have a look at the inputs from both of those drivers that caused that incident, and their teammates, they both were checking. Both of those guys were definitely out of the gas. It's just that the lead car was out of it more than the trailing car.
Watch this closing rate you're talking about down the back straightaway.
Where's the momentum of that pack going?
Somebody on the bottom was not up to speed. Can't tell who that is up there. They were definitely off the pace.
What, they're trying to rejoin the top? There's so much wrong with that. I'm frustrated. I can guarantee you the drivers will be frustrated. Let's see if we can call up Matt Rodriguez and see how frustrated he is. Matt Rod, it's Scotty and Seth up here in the booth. It feels a little bit like the temperature of the race is starting to bubble up and over a little bit. Is it worthwhile throwing the pasture on yet, or should we let this one throw some more hot water?
I mean, I don't know what to do. I mean, I thought the race was settling down. It wasn't settling down. It maybe ramped up a little bit. It's been a race of ups and downs, to put very simply.
It feels a lot more like a race of downs at the moment as we're cruising around the back straightaway. Have you at least got something left in that race car? We're going to be seeing more of you out there tonight. How's it feeling? Fast repair this time by, or was this?
Gonna need the fast repair this time. I have about 13 minutes of damage, so it's gonna be untenable. That last wreck was, I'd say, primarily my fault. I forgot the golden rule of getting pushed by Tom Bourne is just no hesitation. You can't lift, and you got to make immediate decisions. And I hesitated. I hesitated, and I paid the price.
Can you talk us through? I was hearing pre-race that there was some beef between you and Tom. No, was it Tom or Bronson? It was Bronson Stafford, wasn't it? It took 3 years to recover. That's racing, though.
That was Tom, but that's a different. I may have hooked him for the championship. That's not important. That's not important.
Talk us through that right now, so you can have it out and you can apologize to the big man out in the Twitch stream, on the YouTubes.
I think we've doled that out good enough. Clutch Drop Racing League Season 1, Race 16. I think it's like in the 15-minute mark. I went silent for the rest of the race. Past that, no, it's been I don't know what the kind of the gist or the vibe is. Like with SS, it was kind of predictable. You could estimate when the kind of chaos was going to start unfolding. Like, hey, we have a lull period in the middle of the race, but this has just been kind of back to back to back to back, and you can tell that there's a good amount of drivers still hanging on to that fast repair who are just afraid to kind of pull that trigger, and people who are getting forced into it. I know Hubka got forced into using that fast repair, and I think Tom inadvertently got forced into using that fast repair. So I don't think we're done wrecking. I think we've got a few more.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for dropping by. Thank you very much for having a quick word to us. And
well, feel free to fetch me whenever you need me. Probably not mid-wreck. I will be screaming.
I wanted to grab you pretty quickly, and then I realized you were in it. So
no. I mean, if you want to pull me when I'm racing, I'm fine. I got this. Not my first day.
I'll have some fun. Enjoy your second rodeo then, if it's not your first rodeo.
Thank you.
This caution.
I can't help it.
Absolutely.
I love roughing him up.
Hey, and as he said, it's not his first time where he would be driving and commentating. He did that in the Super Speedway series that we covered. Did that, I believe it was at iRacing Super Speedway. That was an adventure and a half. We're now into the third stage, though. Second stage completed under this yellow flag. So now we're running to the checkers, and Patrick McClendon is on the inside of the front row, but he's not the control car. He's not the leader. Kyle Holden elected to move up to the outside line, pick up his teammate Noah Jackson here for this restart.
We're going to get a really good roll going off the top rope as well. And there's already 3 wide in the middle of the pack, and somebody had to make a decision to back out. She said to Chris Wheeler, I believe it might have been Alan Dobbs on the inside that went to the middle and then had to block it off back again to the lower side. So the aggression, it's still, I think the big thing is that people sort of started, they've sort of worked out who they do and don't want to be around, and Dobbs went, I do not want to be behind Bryce Gainey. So that's why he covered that one off.
Yeah, remember we talked about this in the dual races specifically about, you know, drivers kind of auditioning for other drivers that aren't necessarily teammates, aren't necessarily a manufacturer alliance of, hey, if you don't have any teammates around you, and if you're comfortable pushing me and I'm comfortable pushing you, maybe we can find each other at the end of this race. A lot of drivers that we didn't see take part in those dual races now auditioning right here in the points paying event, and to your point, maybe some drivers saying, hey, yeah, I want to work with you, and some drivers saying, I want you in my rearview mirror, thank you very much.
I do like what these guys are doing up at the head of the field, though. They've recognized that they're a lot more comfortable and they can stay ahead on the outside line. And they've gone up there and they're pushing and making the momentum up there. So it's sort of breaking the field up a little bit. And this might be the opportunity to settle this down. So we've gone through 2 stages. The end of the race is still 2 pit stops away. Minimum of about 24-ish laps if you're the lead car in a train, which means that gets us through from last pit stops. The guys at the front pit the end of lap 57. So a couple cautions from there. I reckon we can get 30 laps out of that. That gets us through to about 88. And there's still another pit stop after that one. So we are still a very, very long way from the end of this race. I think that's what a few people are going to realize here.
So green flag pit stops in the middle of both of our dual races last Wednesday night. We'll see if these drivers will have to prepare for green flag pit stops here in the conclusion of tonight's Go Crete 325. DJ Daniel now out in front. We saw how he got the lead, the 2-car tandem with Matt Mettler. They went from 7th and 8th in a matter of a couple of corners to 1st and 2nd, and now pull up in front of fellow Toyota Camrys Kyle Holden and Noah Jackson. It's interesting here, Scott, because there's an old racing adage of super speedway racing: if you're in it, you can win it. And I mentioned about the fact that tomorrow night we're going to be covering the continuation of the RTG Talladega Challenge Series. Now, they fluctuate each week between 2 super speedways, but seems like every time we start a new season, most of the drivers, if not all of them, are of the mentality during the first race of the regular season: bring home the checkered flag or bring home the steering wheel. If you win, you've pretty much locked yourself into the playoffs. If you don't win, you've got the rest of the regular season to try and get back the point you lost. I'm almost wondering if that's kind of the mentality that most of the drivers have adopted here tonight, and that's why we've seen as many yellows and how much aggressive racing we've seen in the early going of this one, where they're trying everything they can. The aggression level is turned up because they're trying to get themselves positioned to be able to get that checkered flag here early on in the season, get that guaranteed playoff position into the postseason. If they don't get it, well, then you've got speedways, you've got road courses, you've got short tracks coming up here where you can try and get those points back that you lost here tonight.
Oh boy, there's some. I think Peyton Holland just tried to connect up with Matt Mettler, and they threw themselves all the way back down the bottom line, and there was a run coming from Chris Wheeler. Like these sorts of moves don't need to be made just yet. If this was the final stint after fuel had been taken, like I get it. But why are you blocking? Why we're nearly 3 wide in front of this? Why? What purpose does this serve right now? What I'm seeing, so I think what's happening out on the racetrack is, it looks like to me, people are just making aggressive decisions. I don't think there's rhyme or reason to it. I think they're just making aggressive decisions, and they're not trying to come.
And there we go.
Not making a decision. That's what that was. That was not making a decision. That's frustrating, because that is just silly driving behavior. Everyone that was in that pocket right there had to make a.
Dalton McKenney, Kyle Holden. It was one of the.
That came from not making a decision until the last possible moment. You see, they had a lot of opportunity to either decide to slot in or pull out and do what they were going to do. They just sat there in the middle of the racetrack and they went, "Oh no, there's something happening." You can't do that. You gotta have a plan for how you kind of cut through.
Christian Ruse now the race leader. I believe it was the 19 of Peyton Holland we're going to see here. Gets into the right rear. Now the question is, does he come down or does McClendon come up? I don't know.
No. That's on the 19. That's on the. Is that the 18?
That's the 19.
The 19 car. That is 100% on the 19 car. Why? Lift early. You know there is a lapped car coming. Slot in and push. Do not take that full wide. Why are you shoving the nose full wide? This is a late decision. This is terrible driving behavior. Absolutely. I am hands up against. Where are you going to go? Where are you going to go? You give no one around you the opportunity to look after their race. That is a lapped car that gave a heap of room on the bottom. The lapped car has done nothing wrong there. They have done everything they possibly can. There's 100% the 19. The Dell Junior pace, running for the middle, the 8 Patrick McClendon, I believe it was, did a great job. held his line, got around the lap car, heaps of space. The 18 car on the high side, heaps of space. Everyone, this make it again. Look at the decision. It's time to make a decision. Time to make a decision. Why does it drift up?
And just look at all the drivers involved in this. DJ Daniel, Noah Jackson, CJ Papa. A couple of cars even further up wrecked. I think the 25 might have been involved.
Come on. If we were 15 laps into this race, okay. We're 70 laps into this thing. We've been 3 weeks worth of super speedway racing. We're better than this.
Here's another aerial shot looking at the 25 of Ryland Facinato, and he's going to get the right rear of Dalton McKenney, and then watch the 46. Right there, 17 gets him, and oh, we're just going to miss it there. We saw it when it happened on the other replay there. The 59 of Kyle Holden going to get further contact as he ran into the back of the 46.
You on the brakes. Why aren't you trying to really arrest the speed of that car as well? Like, there is so many back-to-back bad decisions. It's not one bad decision that's costing us. It's back-to-back bad decisions that's costing us. I'm disappointed. I'm really, really disappointed because there's been some really good super speedway racing. When we get to the big dance, they're letting us down, the drivers.
Yeah, we ended up having about, what was it, I think 15, 16 drivers in each one of the dual races. Bigger field, a lot more energy. Could that be a contributing factor as well? I mean, I'm with you on the poor decision making, but with having more race cars out there on the racetrack, a lot more energy there. Is that playing a contributing factor into what we're seeing as well?
It's not. It's got nothing to do with the energy. It's less space, and people not driving to the condition. The benefit of the duels, smaller fields, you've got more room to sit and think about. These sorts of bad decisions that we're seeing, you've got an outlet in the duels, right? You've got somewhere that you can go. When you get a big field like this, what it comes down to is you've got to race to a bigger field. People aren't. When you've got a smaller field, you can make silly decisions. You know, there's a very good quote. I think I might have told you about this quote before, but it comes from Mark Larkham, who's a legend of the Australian racing world, talking to a bunch of Formula 4 guys, kids that are getting into racing. The reason why he was talking to them was that all the Formula 4 guys are out there driving the wheels off their things and having huge accidents every single race. They never went green flag for the entirety of a race, which is rare for a road course series in the real world, because it's torn up race cars. It makes racing more expensive. And one of the things he said is, when you have a race car that is capable of fifth, you drive it to fifth. Don't go blocking for second. You know those guys are going to always round you up. Race them hard, but when they get down the inside there, stop squeezing them. You know, think about it. Go, okay, I may lose second. If you're sitting in second, I may lose second here. I'm still going to be in third. If you keep fighting them and you keep making those silly decisions, that third becomes 10th. That third becomes destroyed race car DNF. And it's the same thing that's going on out here. Race to your... Get your head up. Think smartly. Because the guys that are finishing consistently in that top 5 each and every week, those are the guys going to be fighting for a championship. The guys that are making those dumb decisions, they're not going to finish half the races. They're not relevant for the championship.
It's also considered, too...
What I'm saying with that is me just going, hey... Okay, this is at its worst, no problem. Then this happens, clean it. Now you're gonna work on this. I'm not saying, you know, I hate these guys, Seth. By the way, I do. I'm being a little bit harsh.
I get you with the frustration, because with what, as you said, what we've seen with speed weeks, we've seen long green flag runs, we've seen exciting finishes. You want to see everybody make it to the checkered flag, and you know the poor decision making that we've seen so far here in the first half of this race. It's got a number of drivers a lap down, a couple of drivers out of this race. Clifford Corveau now joined by John Fike. You've got Hubka several laps down, Alonzo King several laps down, Alex Little -2. McClendon is now off the lead lap along with Chris Roberge and Lilith Peters. So, and we got a number of drivers back there that I think are damaged and off the pace, have already utilized their faster pairs, so they don't have that mulligan left. They're just riding out the rest of this race here with damaged goods.
Something's happened to Alonzo King. I think he might have had damage.
And caution's out again.
So I think that caution's actually unintentional. I believe that's for Alonzo King, and he was actually trying to get off the track and tow the car to not give a caution. So that one was actually not intended.
On the pit lane there is our Duel 2 winner, our Duel 1 winner, Alan Dobbs. Going to be the race leader here under this yellow. So we can find out what happened there with Alonzo King. He was 8 laps down here on this restart.
He's so unlucky because he gets a long way off the racetrack. Keep watching, keep watching. It's still green, still green, still green, still green, still green. And it's about now the yellow triggers, and he's literally just about to get so far away from the racetrack he's not going to trigger it. So
amazing the yellow comes out for that when it didn't come out for the 2 cars spinning on the back straightaway earlier on.
They were at a high rate of speed and they ejected way down very quickly.
So I believe that this yellow flag is going to be a godsend for Patrick McClendon. He was the first car 1 lap down. So he should get the free pass here, which would have us with 27 drivers on the lead lap when we go back green.
Okay, so an update on the one from Alonzo King. They just said issues with batteries. There was something to do with batteries, and I believe that might have been his VR headset batteries that died. So he had very little to do, and the fact he actually didn't take anyone out is immense. He's actually done a very, if that is the case, he's done a phenomenal job there to get away from everyone.
Yeah, very impressive on that. I've had a couple of drivers with some hardware issues tonight. Noah Jackson managed to not take anybody out when he had a problem. And now most recently, Alonzo King. You know, touching back, though, on something you were talking about under the last caution period, you know, it's a super speedway, but drivers have memories like elephants. They don't forget. And if somebody makes some kind of an errant move that they don't agree with, even at a track like Daytona, they'll remember that further on down the road. I'm looking ahead at our schedule here, and just like during the first third of the regular season, we got tracks like Richmond, Dover, Iowa. If you're looking at a track to make a point or make a statement, get a little payback if you think somebody's wronged you in a previous race, you might be looking at a track like that. You know, not only are you wanting to make friends out here at a super speedway, because you need friends, you need help to be able to get to the front or stay at the front, but the last thing you want to do too is leave Daytona with a rival for the rest of the season.
Yeah, for sure. These first races, like that's why I say, you know, I'm all about survival in these early races, because I need to unlearn and understand people's racecraft. You don't learn much from a super speedway. You learn basically how aggressive or how passive somebody is. And case in point, I ended up did a super speedway race for a league that's been running way back since the league started on iRacing. I had the opportunity to do that over the winter off season. It was really, really good to run up front with a lot of really higher iRating guys. I come across a guy at Chicagoland. And he actually didn't recognize that I wasn't trying to fight him. I was actually trying to push him. And what ended up happening was that we both went on the... we tried to cut a pit stop out. And it was such a long run on tires that if we hadn't have fought from the start of the run, we would have finished 2nd and 3rd. What ended up happening was we finished 8th and 9th. So we both dropped, 6 spots. Because we fought over it. And I recognized that about 3 or 4 laps into the run. And I started pushing him. Whilst he had the fresher tires, was a little bit better on tires than him. And... all of a sudden, 10 laps later, I'd looked after my tires enough whilst pushing him that I was actually quicker than him. He kept side drafting me down the straights, and I was like, dude, I just want to drop in front of you so I can pull us both around, that we can both succeed. I actually still want you to follow me, but I've got more speed. After about 3 attempts at it, I just went, okay, I'm just pushing this guy to the end of the race. But that was enough time. If we hadn't have done that, it was the last lap of the race we lost 6 spots on. We hadn't have done that, we would have finished 2nd and 3rd. There are drivers out there that drive that way. Chatted to the guy after the race, said to him, hey, this is actually what I was trying to do in the middle of the race, was actually trying to push you. And he went, oh my God, I didn't actually know. I thought you were trying to race me really hard. I said, no, man, I had a little bit better tires than you. I actually still I needed you, because you bump drafting me down the straights, pushing me, was significantly faster than either of us on our own. That's what I was trying to achieve. He went, oh man, if I'd have recognized that, I would have accepted 3rd spot. Sometimes people just don't understand the situation they're in and what you're trying to do. There's a little bit of that, but super speedways, you've got to work with the people around you. And I've seen a lot of selfish moves tonight. It was the thing I will say.
Well, with working our 9th caution of the night, we have eclipsed over now 20 drivers that have utilized their faster pairs. That's over 20 drivers out of 34 participants. So we're getting close to almost single-digit drivers left with a mulligan faster pair to be utilized here, and when we go green, we'll be approaching, nearing 50 laps to go, but still got quite a bit of racing still left to conclude this one. I was actually looking back in the 2024 season to kick off the year at Daytona. They ended up having 10 caution flags, so we're more than likely going to eclipse that here tonight, as we're only one away from tying the amount of cautions they had in last year's season opener. As it'll be Alan Dobbs who'll get us back under the green. Second place will find Matthew Rodriguez. Christian Ruse will line up in third. Matt Davies fourth. Matt Mettler in fifth. Then Christopher Darling, Jeffrey Kleinsma, Jonathan Cogswell, Kyle Holden, and Chris Wheeler. That's going to be your top 10 as we get ready to go back green. Scoring right now showing 27 drivers on the lead lap of 30 that are still in this race. Alonzo King, John Fike, Clifford Corveau look like the 3 drivers that will not reach the conclusion of this race so far this evening.
Yep, time for a restart. New drivers in the front row, new opportunities, and Dubs gets a great launch off the inside. It's been a long old race, Seth. I know I've said some negative things about our drivers, but I know what they're capable of.
Exactly. That's the thing, right?
Doing a whole bunch more. And that's why I'm mad, because I want to see. We had a phenomenal finish, a couple of weeks ago at the shootout. I didn't get to witness the duels last week. I was down at the mountain. I was going to talk about Aero. That's what I was going to do a little while ago. So yeah, I was talking about Jaden Ojeda, who's become all of a sudden a big sensation in Australian road course racing in the real world. Got behind the wheel of a Mercedes-AMG GT3 for Craft Bamboo Racing. And I got to talk to him a lot about it. He said one of the things about those cars is that when they start to slide in the rear end, what happens is the aero stops working properly. The big key to that is because the air is designed to move over those cars and access the downforce when it's coming at them head on. As soon as you start to slide the car, the downforce doesn't work as well anymore. All of a sudden, the angle of the car that's hidden away from the slide, it stops working completely. So if you're sliding to the left, your right front corner catches all the air, your left front corner gets nothing. And the dive plane that's on the opposite side, it gets even less, it gets about 50% worth of the downforce, if we're being kind. So, aero's designed to work in one way. So those sorts of cars, you actually got to drive them incredibly straight, because the aero works not only well to create downforce, but most efficiently in that angle as well.
And kind of building off of that, you documented on the fact, and we can even see it right here, a lot of movement out of these race cars. As you said, they're designed to be able to get the optimal amount of speed the way that the air moves over them, and we already see even at that point they're moving around a lot. You get that little bit of a buckle on the fender, you get a little bit of damage on the right rear quarter panel. Just how much more movement does that cause? Because it's almost like you got a parachute now affecting the way that the air is going over that race car.
It's one of the things you hear a lot about. If you've ever seen anything to do with Formula 1 cars, they talk about vortices and the way that the dirty air structures itself around the car. You want nice, clean air. When the air is sitting just static, before a car's driven through it, it flows really nicely. You can predict exactly where it's going to go. When it comes off of other cars, it sort of balloons out either side, and then air rushes back in to fill that hole as well, because it creates these zones of high and low pressure air. That does cause a creation of extra downforce and loss of downforce. I mean, that's, there's less air molecules for the chasing car to punch through, but therefore they're not punching through as much air, and there's less air friction going on. That is why the draft really works, but that also works conversely to reduce the amount of downforce you've got available to, and therefore reduce the level of grip. But yeah, it's all around the car. Sometimes when you snap out of a car, you get sucked sideways, because all of a sudden, if you bobble your nose out to the right-hand side of a guy, all of a sudden you've got a ton of downforce in your right rear corner and your right front corner of the splitter, so it pulls the car.
Oh no! Sorry to cut you off! Big wreck here! One up and over, that's Jonathan Cogswell! And he's going to get hit by the 25, and he's going to go for a ride.
Oh, man.
That was DJ Daniel, and I believe he got hit. I believe that was by the 32 of Matt Davies. Those were the first two to get together there in the center of 3 and 4.
Oh, boy.
Take a look at this. Watch the 96. He'll be up ahead on the left side of your screen.
Again, silly decisions.
Was the 22 trying to stick it in the middle 3 wide there?
Again, it's the same thing. Don't do it by halves. If you're going to follow, follow. If you're going to stick the nose out, go. No one cares. If you want to go through wide, go through wide. But you don't dangle like that.
It's hard to tell if maybe the 22 slid up and the 32 comes down. Let's see. Almost looks like the 22 couldn't hold the bottom. Came up into the left rear quarter panel of Davies. And then that last hit there by Facinato with Cogswell already upside down pops him up into the air. That thing managed to land back on all 4 wheels and is able to drive back to the pits miraculously enough, but it didn't take long as soon as that angle of impact to the outside wall for the 27 to go up and over.
Yeah, non-one. But again, from Chris Wheeler, why is, like, there's a middle liner, it's right there. You don't dangle your nose there. It's just...
Big hit on the right side as well for the 13 of CJ Papa. And we have now tied the number of cautions set in last year's season opener. 10th caution of the night.
And good news, there's 50 laps to go. So we're actually in the range for a 1 green flag pit stop from here. Everyone's in range, so.
I was going to bring that up to you before we had that. I believe we went back green with 62 laps to go. I was going to ask you, were we looking that they were going to have to at least make 1 more pit stop before the conclusion? So what are we looking at here for this restart? Like, if they, you know, as far as making that final green flag pit stop, what are you thinking? Do we wait until the next yellow? If we go green the rest of the way, do we split this final run to the checkers in half? Do you wait as long as you possibly can?
So the issue is, right now we are bang on fuel range. There is no wiggle room. So when we go back to green here, it'll be run it dry and then pit, and you'll make it. But yeah, there'll be some guys at the back that might have 1 lap of extra gas, but we're talking our window when we go back green at the end of next lap is basically 1 lap. You'll either pit right on the lap or 1 lap after it is sort of what you got to work with. If you're leading this pack, you will not make it.
What about if we get some more yellows? Enough pacing laps, keep your track positions, save the fuel necessary to get to the end of this race? Because bear in mind too, we didn't mention this, but we were going to mention it as we got closer to the end of this race. 3 overtime green-white checkered attempts available to these drivers should we need it.
Yeah. That'll be an interesting one. That'll definitely get some head scratching. You know the fun fact though, Seth, about fuel save races? Paces are slower. Not everyone's trying to push or advance their position. They tend to be cleaner.
Good point. Very good point. You talked about the fact that this is the first time on a super speedway for one Dizzy Carter, and he's going to be the one that's going to lead us back to green here. Electing to stay out under this caution. Alan Dobbs is going to line up on the outside of row number 1. Then it's going to be Bryce Gainey, Kyle Holden, Christian Ruse, your top 5. It was interesting. I was looking back at the finishing results from last year's Daytona season opener. Christian Ruse right now is the highest running of the drivers that finished well in last year's season opener. He finished 6th. Nobody that finished in the top 5 in last year's season opener is running up inside of the top 10 right now. The closest was DJ Daniels. He was up around the 11th, 12th position, but caught up in this most recent yellow flag. And of course, he was the defending winner of this race 1 year ago.
I know, so it's one to the end on fuel from here. So this is where it comes down to it, right? Now you got to set yourself up. Again, I'm saving fuel here. I'm staying out of it. Because I still think there's more wrecks.
Checking
By
to
the way, this is first ever time leading us back to a green flag, so he's going to celebrate that one. That's
Absolutely.
a win for.
It's a bonus point. It's a valuable bonus point in leading a lap. As you mentioned, road course driver. We'll look forward to seeing what he's able to do on the rights and lefts. I believe that first road course stop is going to be March 12th at the Chicago Street Course.
I wonder if we haven't got a bunch of wrecked race cars out there right now. I'm just watching Brandon Cooper's trying to make some moves. He's been aggressive. Someone just cut down to below the yellow.
9 of
Roberge.
Roberge, I believe, yep.
Off the lead lap though. That's why he's dropped below the yellow. So he recognizes he's not racing with these guys. He's just trying to maintain speed with them, keep up the pack, and potentially get his lap back.
Check to see. I'm not sure if we had a lucky dog driver under this yellow. McClendon got the free pass under the previous caution. I thought Lilith Peters was the only car 1 lap down prior to this most recent caution coming out, but she has still scored 1 lap down, so appears we did not get a lucky dog under this 10th caution. And here we go, Christian Ruse, Jeffrey Kleinsma. They looked like they wanted to make a move there through 1 and 2, tuck back in line into 3rd and 4th place.
I think the big thing right now is I'm not trying to push too hard. Just manage. Keep managing. I wouldn't be trying to lead this race. Do I want to be somewhere towards the front? Sure, but at the same time, I think the biggest thing is just fuel save. If this was NASCAR in the real world right now, everyone would be running around the top, fuel saving. There would not be a single car running in that bottom groove.
And take a look at the situation we've got now up here at the front of the field, because you had the Chevrolets of Alan Dobbs and Alonzo King working together in the early portions. You had DJ Daniels and Kyle Holden, the Toyotas, working together, but now Alonzo King out of this race. DJ Daniels right now being scored 4 laps down. So now the 35 and the 59 have had to completely change their strategy. They know that they're both fast race cars, so now they've had to buddy up here to stay at the front of the field. They've lost their wingmen.
I actually just had a quick look through the results and the standings. I found our lucky dog from that most recent caution. Guess who? It's Chris Hubka.
Oh, okay.
He did grab the lucky dog. He goes from 12 laps down to 11.
Right now, the last car running in the 31st position. And all 3 of the drivers that took the big impact in that most recent caution, they had already used their faster pairs. DJ Daniels, as we documented, 5 laps down. Cogswell -6. Same for Matt Davies. So effectively, it looks like last year's season opener Daytona winner will not double down here from 2024 to 2025.
Have a look at Alan Dobbs isn't getting pushed. Oh boy. Bubble out of line. It climbs up. Drops back a spot there. And then we'll reform back up again. So again, this is the time of the race to just be patient. Don't be sending it. Guarantee there'll be somebody looking and thinking about diving down the bottom lane.
Everybody lined up single file back to about the 15th, 16th position. Looks like they're settled down for now, but single file is not always safe either, because you've already well documented the checkup. When you're all running in the same line, the checkup is massive. However, if we're in fuel saving mode, you're probably going to drag the brake a little more, clutch a little bit more. You're not going to have nearly that momentum to the car in front of you. Oh gosh, Christian Ruse. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if he's saving more fuel than Kleinsman's expecting. That's about the 3rd time I've seen him get out of shape and have to gather that race car back up.
I think he just popped out of line. I don't know what's going on there. More cars, somebody's in the barrier back there as well. I think that was Sean Lauder going into it. There's actually a big gap in the field around the 10th spot at the moment in the pack, and that's because all those guys up and around that spot are just really running back off it. Big holes, no one trying to get into it. So this is where the racing starts to come in.
It's Brandon Cooper in that 10th position. Right in front of him, Chris Roberge, the lap machine, the number 9. currently 4 laps down in the 27th position. We're going to wait an update in just a moment, but scoring currently shows me 2 drivers at least off the racetrack for the moment. Not necessarily certain if they're out of the race, that being Lilith Peters and Bryce Gainey. Both drivers currently being scored 3 laps down. They may be done for the night. CJ Papa, who was also caught up in the most recent yellow, -2 in the 24th position. And Alex Little, who ran into problems very early on in this race, is currently the highest run of the lap cars, also 2 laps down in the 23rd position.
I believe we've just lost Bryce Gainey and Lilith Peters with connection issues from the servers, so might be done for the day on both of those. I haven't seen Gainey rejoin and Lilith Peters is currently out, so that puts 2 more drivers in the dropped out position.
You mentioned it, Scott. One thing you do not want to do in this type of fuel situation is be leading. Alan Dobbs has been leading since we went back green. What is the strategy on this car? Is he just hoping and praying a caution saves him? Or would there be some point that he would kind of throw out the parachute, drop back to a spot where he can try and save a little bit to get to the conclusion?
Well, the problem is, if he leads the bulk of this running here, is that he has to save. He'll come early and he'll have to save for the entire last run. The window's only a couple laps, and that's wherein the big difficulty lies. If we had a grouping of laps of the pit window where it's like 3, 4, 5 laps, you can do something with that. You can always make it from there, so you can actually go quite hard. But because it's sort of a couple lap window, you're a little bit stuck. Matthew Rodriguez, I think, is taking to warming his tires down the backside. He's having fun. I think he's bored.
Currently holding down that 5th position. Number of these drivers here up at the front took part in both of the dual races, or one of the 2 dual races, I should say, last Wednesday night. Both duels had a cycle of green flag pit stop, so they've got that experience under their belt, but there are also a bunch of drivers up here in this lead group that did not take part in those duels, so they don't know necessarily the ins and outs of the pitting tendencies of the drivers that might be coming to pit road the same lap that they are. We end up having that cycle green flag pit stop's going to be very interesting. We talk about it at the super speedways. There's just as much that happens on the entrance of pit road, on pit road itself, in terms of execution and communication, as right up there above the double yellow line on the racing surface.
Yeah, and you got to use all the space that's available to you as well. I think is a real big key. You know, if you're the first car in line, you might shoot all the way to the left-hand side just to give the guys behind you a lot of breathing room to utilize that pit lane entrance. You do not want to be following the car ahead of you. Something happens and somebody misses a braking marker. If you're all spread out, you can do something with that. If you're nose to tail, there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. So you want to utilize all the space that's available to you. And NASCAR Cup Series cars, not known for their braking capabilities. In fact, I completely and utterly detest the brake cut. The brakes that are on these cars. They're horrendous. That's also what makes the racing interesting.
Yeah, indeed. Just look through. Only 4 drivers are in our entire top 10 still have the faster pair available. Only 5 drivers in the top 15 still have a faster pair available. So for a number of these drivers up here at the front, they've done a great job of coming back after being involved in incidents in the early going of this one, but they're not out of the woods yet. And they're about to catch the 96 of DJ Daniel, who is off the pace, multiple laps down. Scoring shows him -11. And bear in mind as well, too, he was one of those Dash for Cash drivers, and he's now out of the hunt for that. Right now, it looks like it's Dobbs versus Ruse, 1st and 3rd position. Those are remaining with those neon green driver banners and spoilers running for that cash prize at the conclusion of this one.
They're up at the pointy end of this thing as well, so right in the right spot. And like you said, so the drivers to talk about for the Dash for Cash: Chris Reese, Patrick McClendon, DJ Daniel. Johnny Williams, unfortunately, not able to get the race tonight, so we're down to 5 drivers in that one. Alan Dobbs, like you said, leading, and Christopher Rue is the last of those drivers that are in the Dash for Cash.
Right now, Reese is still in the conversation. There he is back there in that blue number 62. Last time I scored in 18th. Patrick McClendon, though, off the pace, more than 10 seconds in arrears to the lead pack. More than likely out of the hunt for this thing, unless the other 3 remaining Dash for Cash drivers run into problems. And Holden pulling down to the bottom.
Holden just had a monitor issue.
Yep, I was going to say, looked like connection problems there for him, and smart move, getting away from the other race cars in case it got worse.
Christian Burge has jumped out of line. And he's going to get shuffled back towards the back, but he managed to get out of there and not impact anyone.
That's a tough break there for him. He's had an up and down day. Started from the pole position. Got involved in a couple of incidents. Was able to fight his way back up into the top 5. Was running in the 2nd position when those issues occurred. And still waiting for him to reappear in the server here. More than likely going to fall at least a lap down.
If you notice a little bit on the way back, Seth, there is one car that's jumped out of line. It's Chris Roberge. Now, why I don't like this is Roberge is off the lead lap. He's 4 laps down. And he's in here, Holden's just dropped from the server. So he nearly caused chaos trying to get back in the lane right there. The only reason he's able to poke the nose out and start making progress is everyone up here is fuel saving. Lap speed, last time by, 48.146. 1.5 seconds slower. Actually, it's not.
Oh, no! 46 of McKinney go around, but I think we're staying green. That was down on the apron. Everybody else on the racing surface managed to somehow keep it going.
And Roberge is actually in the fence. I think his right front's broken, so he's going to limp it back to pit lane. And I believe that'll be day done for him, but he's 4 laps down, so... Jumped down a lane. Everyone was fuel saving up the front. So those guys that jumped down a lane clearly had saved enough fuel, but again, like, safety would be my biggest call. We've just lost a bunch more cars out of that one, and no caution's big.
So far, we're 2 for 2, and jumping back to look at an incident that we stay green on, the caution comes out. Do we tempt fate a 3rd time?
Oh yeah, I think we'll be able to.
All right. Take a look and see what happened with Dalton McKinney. He and I think Patrick McQuaid had just started jumping down to the inside line as if they were going to try and move their way forward. And McQuaid was getting a shove from Tom Bourne. Bumpers weren't lined up. Across the nose of the 25.
You lift.
Now, we heard there from our broadcast colleague Matthew Rodriguez under that one caution. He said, when you got Tom pushing you, you can't lift. So Dalton McKinney, I believe he is still out there running. He didn't come to pit road. He's still on the lead lap. He's hoping that a yellow saves him. But now closing in on 30 laps to go here. Dobbs leading Ruse. The battle for that dash for cash, but also the battle potentially for who will be leading when we end up hitting a cycle of potential green flag pit stops. Kleinsma, Rodriguez, Lauder, all there as well.
I'll tell you what, the 2 cars are back together again, McQuaid and Tom Bourne. So they're still confident with each other pushing. But yeah, what Matt Rodriguez said is 100% right earlier on as well. You don't wait until the last possible moment to lift out. If you're going to have to check, you do it early. Oh boy, that nearly ended everyone's race yet again.
And we got some traffic up ahead as well. Saw CJ Papa up there, and I believe Matt Davies, couple of lap down machines, some traffic that the leaders will have to deal with more than likely in the next lap. We've already seen a couple of times here tonight slower traffic encountered by the leaders leading to a yellow, so hopefully they'll be able to traverse past these 2 cars safely this time.
pack just broke up. All of a sudden, the speed's starting to pick back up again. From that chase pack, they really, really want to reconnect with the leaders. I'll tell you what, yeah, running them down, they're going to be able to do it. Stay with that shot? Yeah, that group right there. They're running our lead pack down. In fact, they're going to reconnect right here. They just got in the second mark, so they're picking.
Peyton Holland, 10th position, leading that second group.
I think Alan Dobbs should jump out of line to go save some fuel. He's done a lot of leading right here.
And he's going to try and tuck in front of Matthew Rodriguez and almost turned Jeffrey Kleinsma. Literally forced his way into that inside line.
Good heads-up driving from the pack to let him in there too. They recognized he was coming in. It was either going to be a wreck or he was getting into that lane. Were the two options that were presented to him.
But did he turn on his left turning signal?
No, there was no indication whatsoever.
So that puts Christian Ruse now out in front, with Kleinsma behind him in second place. What are we thinking here for making that green flag pit stop? What's the target lap that most of these drivers might be looking at?
About 26 to go. So 26 to go is going to be about 108. So we are right on the bubble. Pit stop's going to come in the next couple laps.
Matt Mettler now up on the top side. A couple of Toyotas hooking up there. He's got Noah Jackson in tow. I believe that's also the lap car of DJ Daniels, third car on that outside line.
Yes, it is.
You know, I was looking at that too. You know, we've got Chris Hubka up here. He's off the lead lap. DJ Daniels up here. He's off the lead lap. But they could fall into the X Factor category of helping a fellow manufacturer or even a teammate win this race. They are still a body in this group. They are still a drafting partner. They are still a pusher. So keep an eye on these drivers. Even though they may not be in the conversation for this checkered flag, they can certainly make their presence felt into who is.
And drivers at a Hubscott Motorsports group: Alan Dobbs, Chris Hubker, Chris Roberge, Christian Ruse, Jeff Kleinsma, Matthew Rodriguez, Pat McQuaid, and Tom Bourne. So look at the level, look at the numbers of the drivers that are in that lead group, and there is such a big group of those drivers. They're going to dive off in the lane altogether, you would feel. Chris Reese, TJ Papa, Mark Gilbert, Sean Louder, they're all working together, but they're incredibly split up. That's out of GPG. Southern Grit Motorsports, Rylan Facciato, Chris Otto, Dalton McKenney, Jeffrey Vicker, and John Williams. Again, all split up. And DDLT, Brandon Cooper, Chris McGlashan, DJ Daniels, Carl Holden, Matt Mettler, and Noah Jackson. Again, split up, but Daniels is back out in that lead pack, and he is able to make some assistance. So Noah Jackson and Mettler are connected at the moment, and DJ Daniels is right where with them. So that is a DDLT pack all grouped up together.
And we mentioned about the fact that back during the shootout, to open up the season, open up speed weeks, the Toyotas worked very well together. It was then Daniels, Holden, and Jackson that pretty much dominated the top three for the second half of that race and settled it out amongst themselves in the closing stages, with Daniels taking that checkered flag. Now you've got Camrys lined up 1, 2, 3 here again. Again, Daniels off the lead lap, but up to speed, trying to hold off the Chevrolets behind. And then you've got a Ford back there, the lap car of Little. And I believe you have another Toyota in Peyton Holland, who was leading that second group up to the lead pack. Now he's broken into the top 5.
Yeah, there's a really interesting little bit of back and forth that's going on at the moment. And Chris Darling got forced out of line. Now the problem is, he's currently side drafting a little bit Alan Dobbs, but Dobbs has got a little bit of help. But what's happening is when you're side drafting like this in such a disconnected pack, you can't get the momentum back together and push back up to the leaders. So if this continues for another lap and a half, they will disconnect from this lead pack. But lap traffic's certainly going to intervene and help out a little bit and drag them back up. But they've got to be really, really careful with how they do this.
As Davies and Papa going up there to the outside. Also the 18 of Dizzy Carter, who was on the tail end of the lead lap, now will be the first car 1 lap down, as the leaders thunder on by that trio of machines. Looks like for the most part, track is clear for the leaders for the good majority rest of this run. And as you said, we're only now probably about, what, maybe less than 2 laps away from when these drivers are driving onto pit road.
They're pitting this time. They're pitting this time. The calls for the pit lane entries are coming in now. Everyone's letting each other know we're all pitting, we're all pitting, we're all pitting. So The one driver I'm worried about is Darling is stuck in that middle groove, cannot get to the bottom. If he has to pit, he can't do it from that middle groove. He had to make a commitment to either lane much, much earlier. So if he has to pit, he's in trouble. The whole field's coming. The whole field should be coming right here. Nope, not all of them. Some of them have saved.
Here they all come to pit road. Looks like that big group all did a good job getting onto pit lane, adhering to each other's braking zones. Some of those that are going to stay out include the new race leader, the 11 of Christopher Darling, Matthew Rodriguez in the 61. Only a duo there. Going to have to probably come to pit road together and hope that they mesh back with the lead pack. I don't know, what do you like the call there, going this one lap early? They got cars out here they're able to draft with, so it's not like they're losing a ton of time.
Big thing is, can you get it pulled up? Oh, I do wonder. I think Darling was speeding. I think Darling was speeding on the pit lane entry. I'm just going to check the penalties. You know what? He got away with it.
Wow.
He's okay.
I can't remember who it was. Trying to remember off the top of my head, but we had a driver in, I believe it was the second duel race, that threw away a shot at winning that duel event by overcooking it there on the entry of pit road, had to serve the penalty, and subsequently was out of the running for good starting track position for tonight's race. Right now, it's looking like everybody in that big group that came to pit road, they all were able to get it woed down to pit road speed. And as you documented right there, Darling and Rodriguez able to do the same. We're looking at who is going to eventually cycle out to the race lead, and it's going to be a breakaway. 3 Toyotas, then a long ways back to Kleinsma in the 15. They're now going to go around Rodriguez and Darling. There's Mettler going back to the point.
And now they'll pull down. So they've picked up a lot of momentum, and Rodriguez and Darling weren't able to connect early enough. Are they going to stay in the tow? Just. You know, they are just in the tow. They're on the fringe of it. Now they're out. If they can connect, and this chasing pack, Dobbs is making a touch of time. Dobbs is just barely connected with them, but this is the 3 DDLT drivers at the pointy end that are making that connection. And we've got to keep an eye on Christian Ruse and Alan Dobbs are the lead 2 in the Dash for Cash, and guess what? They're still connected, nose to tail.
If this group led by Alan Dobbs can catch up, it looks like we're going to have roughly about 13 drivers in this lead pack with a shot for the win. Fuel is no longer a concern. We saw how aggressive they raced at the beginning of this one. Now we're just going to ratchet it up even more because there's going to be momentum. When that second group ends up catching up to this front group, when that third group catches up to the second group, they're going to have a massive run and they're going to try and take it somewhere. We saw a lot of aggressive blocks in the first half of this race. I think we're going to see a lot of mirror driving here as we're closing in on 20 to go.
Yeah, I've all got the chase pack now. They've all formed back up. Christian Ruse is attached to Alan Dobbs. Tom Bourne's the third driver in that pack. DJ Daniels is playing the engine for their little motor pack that leads this race at this point in time. So it's a 2-car breakaway, but the gap is less than 2 seconds, Seth. It is really, really tight between these front couple of drivers. That is what the shot looks like on board of Alan Dobbs. Feel the little shudders, feel the little jerks in the cars as he gets a couple shots down the back straightaway. And guess what? They took time out of the lead pack. They are coming.
Top 2 drivers last time by ran 47.2s. Leader of this pack, Alan Dobbs, 46.8. So 0.4 of a second taken out. Let's see about this time by. Looked visibly like the gap closed up. About even. They may have actually lost a 1/10 that time by to the top 3. Well, the top 2, but the first 3 cars.
They lost a 10. It was even that time because the lap before they gained about 0.4 of a second on that lead pack, and the reason that they gained that amount of time was because they had this huge tow of picking up Rodriguez and Darling and drafting past them, so they had a huge opportunity to gain some time. Then it normalizes. The pack all got back together again. This time by, now they're reconnected. Now they will start to make time. So those front 2, they're going to get run down. The big question is, where do they go when the pack gets there?
Close call there for the 54, Brandon Cooper, heading through the tri-oval. 5 Chevrolets at the front of this second pack trying to run down 3 Toyotas. You can see by live scoring there on the side pylon. They're about to close it up to a second, and now Dobbs, I think, has got that toe. He's got the slipstream, and it's going to close even quicker now down the back straightaway.
Yeah, this could be fastest lap of the race right here because he has got a huge amount of energy that he is being shoved so hard by Christian Ruse. The difficulty for Ruse is when you're in this situation, the engine runs a lot hotter because you're burning, and you're pushing, and you're right next to him. We get a little bit of breath here, so his engine should be much, much cooler. Here comes the blocks. Here comes the desperation. Then they're going to run to the high side.
Going to go right up to the wall. See if you're going to go around this. You're going to have to go to the bottom. Dobbs says, all right, I will. Puts it right down to the double yellow line. Now we'll see what the Chevrolets can do. Hooking the inside line through 1 and 2. Ruse with the drafting help for Dobbs. Jackson still on the back bumper of Mettler on the top.
Yeah, you just hear a few of the guys in the pack are just cracking the throttle a little bit, trying to stay nice and close. Now it becomes on Christian Ruse and Dobbs on that bottom side. TJ Daniels has got to do as much supporting as he possibly can. Bourne is as close as he possibly can. He's putting a lot of energy down. Daniels is going to block it!
Wow! Contact made. Daniels nearly went around, and that's broken the Toyotas up now. Dobbs going to try and get by Jackson. Ruse will clear to the inside of Jackson as well. That hurt the Toyotas more than helped them, it seems.
And that split the teams up. And have a look at Bourne. Bourne's just taking an opportunity. I'm going to the top. I'm going to the top. I'm going up there. I got no support. Here comes the block from Mettler.
Blocking all 3 lanes. Bourne with no help in the third line. Jackson in the middle. Dobbs on the bottom.
I'm surprised. I definitely thought somebody would have gone up top to try and help him because that was an opportunity.
Oh, there goes
Oh!
Lauder! Sean Lauder going to go around from the 10th position. 11th caution will fly.
And that's just not setting the corner. He drifted up late in the corner. Good job staying static on the track.
Absolutely. I wondered if he wasn't able to get the car refired, but he knew there was oncoming traffic. He stayed where he was, allowed them to avoid him.
You just got the sense it was coming, didn't you?
Absolutely.
I mean, Bourne had to go somewhere. And that all come from a block from DJ. Reminder, DJ Daniels not on the lead lap, but his teammates first and second. And that's why he blocked that one and kickstarted all that. It was to try and break everyone up, and it actually worked against them.
Yep, to your point, 12 drifts up. Bourne's already there. Surprisingly, that actually worked out for Noah Jackson. I thought he was going to be in a lot of trouble when he had a couple of Chevys to his inside, but he was able to pick up a Toyota teammate in Braden Cooper that helped him keep the momentum through the middle line.
I'm really surprised that no one went with Bourne. That shocked me. He had a lot of momentum. If anyone jumps up there, he probably clears a lot of them and comes down in front. Any help.
A little bit of front end damage as well for the 17 of Mark Gilbert. Good news for Lauder. He does have a faster pair that he can still utilize. Bad news is he was running up inside of the top 10. This now is going to cycle him back towards the tail end of the lead lap outside of the top 15.
Did he just lose where he was on the racetrack? Like, that's a weird one because there's nothing around that's moving him. Like, I don't understand that one.
Not sure, but it brings out this yellow flag, and now we're going to more than likely get a restart with just a little more than 10 laps to go. It's going to help a lot of drivers that were in danger of not being in this conversation. I think there were going to be 12 drivers in the hunt for this win, the way things were going right there. Chris Otto had lost the lead pack. Patrick McClendon, Rylan Facinato, Chris Wheeler, Christopher Reese, they had all lost the lead group, and now they'll be back up here in the lead pack. I believe the free pass is going to go to the 18 of Dizzy Carter, who was one of 2 drivers 1 lap down, but the first car off the lead lap. So if our scoring is correct, 21 drivers will be on the lead lap for, I'll put this in huge quotation marks, potentially the final restart of the night.
I don't think it will be.
No,
I'm gonna be honest with
that's hence the air quotes.
It's just the aggression's going to kick up. You know, it's going to ratchet up a bunch of notches. By the way, race time now over 2 hours. If we'd have run green flag end to end, we would have been over and done with about an hour and 40 minutes. We are now half an hour beyond that.
Believe from what I saw when looking up the statistics of last season's race, mentioned it was a 10 caution event. That event ran 2 hours 15 minutes.
We're still 15 laps away, so you can at least go 15 laps if we go green from here. 15 minutes from here.
You look up and down through this. You look up and down through this field, and there's a lot of drivers that they have been up and down in the running results. You know, Matthew Rodriguez up here inside of the top 5. He was involved in an incident, had to fight his way back up. Brandon Cooper was involved in a couple incidents in the early going. He's been able to fight his way back up here to the front. Alan Dobbs. Patrick McQuaid, he's been involved in at least 2 cautions that I can think of. He's still up here inside of the top 10. Jeffrey Vickery still's got a shot there, as he's just now the last car inside of the top 10. And Christopher Reese, I mentioned about the fact that it's looking like it's pretty much between Dobbs and Ruse for this Dash for Cash, but that 62 machine's back there saying, hey, don't forget about me. I'm still on the lead lap. I'm still up to speed. I lost ground on that green flag pit stop cycle, but this caution's got me caught back up. I've still got a shot at this thing.
Interesting to note, Seth, is that we were a little bit tight on fuel. I think we would have been completely and utterly okay. They ran that extra lap, which goes through to 109. So that sort of left us with about 25 laps in the stint. So everyone was basically gold to go green from there to the end. One caution is probably enough to put us well and truly into good for 1 green-white checker. If we get enough green-white checkers here to go to 3 green-white checkers, which I think you said was the maximum earlier on, everyone should be good on fuel. But if I'm the last car on the lead lap, I'm coming to the pit lane anyway. Why? Top off. Don't take that risk.
Absolutely.
You know, give yourself an opportunity to push as hard as you want until the end of the race. That is one of the ways you can strategically push yourself ahead.
Especially since we've only got about 20 drivers on the lead lap, and we've already seen how drivers have been able to, if they've got the right drafting partners and they've got enough space to be able to make said moves, they can work their way from, you know, the back to the front pretty quickly in a matter of about 5, 6, 7 laps.
I don't necessarily know if that's going to be the case. Interesting points to note as well. Remember, we were talking about Alex Little, who's the guy who managed to win Daytona 24-hour earlier on. Was 2 laps down, got the lucky dog back to 1.
There you go. Might still have a shot at this thing. If we get another yellow flag, green back in the air. Metler took the top, Rodriguez to the bottom, so Toyotas versus Chevys. 3 Toyotas up on the outside, 3 Chevrolets on the bottom. 31 was the control car, but he's not going to have the advantage going into turn 1. That will go to Rodriguez.
Just didn't get the push that he was looking for from Noah Jackson. And if I'm in Rodriguez and Dobbs' shoes here, they got so far out in front, I might actually move to the top side and shut down the momentum of that block. Just you know, change things up. Basically say to Metler and Jackson, if you're coming past us, you're going to get blocked here. You got to do it the hard way.
Kleinsman was able to get from the top to the bottom. He'll be 4th on that inside line, behind Christian Ruse, right in front of Patrick McQuaid. Rodriguez going to get spun off the nose of Dobbs, spinning down towards the inside wall. He'll save it. No caution off the racing surface, but Rodriguez spun from the lead.
And no caution means that he's gone from leading the race to 21st. Oh boy. You know, we were talking to him prior to the race, helping us out, getting the stream and the graphics and everything running behind the scene. And I said to him, look, it's a super speedway, Matt. You don't need to necessarily put a whole bunch of practice in. I regret saying that. I think he did need the practice tonight, sir.
Well, I mean, he was putting together a good race. Before he got involved in that wreck that we talked with him about, he was up inside the top 10. He was up inside the top 5 for the last 30 laps or so. Played the good strategy there with Christopher Darling to go an extra lap before making the green flag pit stop. And here comes Reese. How about this? Ford power to the front. Now leading the Dash for Cash. They're lined up nose to tail, those 3. Reese, Dobbs, and Ruse.
Yeah, this is going to be a big old finish. Matler's been a supreme pusher all night long, but for the first time in a while, he's actually out at the head of a pack. And I tell you what, Chris Darling jumps straight to the middle. Vickery's going to try and follow him through on that middle line. 3 wide, a race lead of 3 cars trying to disappear if they possibly can. They're tied on the outside lane. They're side draft and they're bumping each other. Come on, boys. Settle it down.
Contact made. 3 wide, 4, 5 rows deep. Darling now gets out of the middle to the bottom. Vickery still left in the middle with Chris Otto. Look at the movement. The energy in this pack is now we're 3 wide, 2 rows deep around the 9th position.
Here it comes. We're getting down to those final couple of...
Oh, Jackson goes around!
There we go.
Everybody might avoid. Nope, contact there for Davies. I think DJ Daniels also spun out further ahead, but Noah Jackson, another of our front runners here in the closing stages, collected up. There's also the 22 of Chris Wheeler.
And that's just a bad bump from Brandon Cooper, I'll tell you straight away. But everyone in that chasing pack was offset. Like, if you're offset, get out of the gas.
Here's a look. That was Cooper in the 54. Gave the errant bump to the 20. Up the track. I believe that might have been the... It was one of the Toyota TRD liveried cars. Might have been the 32. Oh no, there's the 32 right there, so it might have been the 19 of Holland, actually.
I think this will bring Alex Little back to the lead lap, too.
I think you're correct, and another driver that's very happy to see that caution come out, Matthew Rodriguez.
Oh, yeah.
Was able to stay on the tail end of the lead lap there. This caution will catch him back up. It's another look at it. Watch the 54 up on the outside line here. Watch the movement on that top side. 20 trying to stay lined up with the 31. 54 trying to stay lined up with the 20. And right there. Got him in the right rear quarter panel.
And the problem is the 20 is out of the gas because he's not square with the car ahead of him. And the 54 can clearly see. The thing is, if you go on board with this one, Seth, it'll actually show it. He will be able to see the 2 cars ahead of him. And they're not square. If you're on board with this from the 54 machines, the cars ahead of you have got to be square for you to even think about pushing it. And they weren't. Watch this. Everything will bubble. Just crack the throttle a little bit, cracking the throttle. So you can see that they're offset there. That's difficult. You could actually... Okay. I retract a fair bit of that. He was actually as far out of the throttle as he possibly could be.
And he probably had the 20 out of the throttle as well, realizing his bumper was offset to the 31. He could only lift so much because I believe then Cooper had a car behind him, pushing him forward. It's a tough situation to be in. As is this upcoming restart, because we're now into single digits left to go in regulation. It'll all depend on when the iRacing Pace Cars lights go out as to how many laps we're officially going to have to conclude this race without the aid of overtime.
This is going to go nuts here, Seth. We're down to 22 cars in the lead lap. Started from 34. We've lost 12. Littles does get back to the lead lap here. And CJ Popper is the next driver in at 3 laps down. But just keeping an eye on Noah Jackson. He got quite a hefty hit there. And he's been in and out of pit lane repairing the car.
Jackson had already utilized a faster pair quite early on in this race. So any repairs made now have to just be manual repairs. You know, I'm looking at some of these names down here as well that have soldiered on here tonight despite being multiple laps down. Chris Hubka's been able to make his way up to 25th. DJ Daniels right now in 26th. Chris Roberge, I think he would need at least 1 overtime to be able to jump from 28th to 27th, which is currently held by Kyle Holden, the pole sitter who is out of the race. But you look at some of these guys here, and while the finishing results aren't going to look great. Consider the fact that 25th, 26th, it's an awful lot better, a lot more points garnered than 32nd, 33rd. Could be very important when we get towards the end of the regular season. Drivers vying potentially for those last-minute playoff spots. I mean, I could definitely see it possible that drivers, we're going to have a lot of drivers win their way in, but I think that, some of those last spots in the playoff grid could go to drivers that have been consistent in the regular season and are able to point their way in despite not having a crooked number in the win column.
Yeah, points is going to be a big thing, I think, across the course of this season. The potential for a couple of drivers to go on a winning spree throughout the middle of it, the series, and go ahead and win a whole bunch of races. But points, I think, are going to be critical. I think you can point your way into the playoffs and then just, clutch, be in the right place, right time, win some, progress, get to that final race. That's always a big opportunity. But yeah, it's just the nature of it. You got to have points on the board.
Getting ready for potentially our final restart of the night here. At least our final one, it would appear, in regulation. It will be with 6 laps to go. Appreciate everybody that stuck it out with us here tonight, working our 12th caution. Should be in for a heck of a finish to close out tonight's season opener, the Go-Crete 325 from Daytona. Dobbs, the leader, has chosen the top. Christopher Reese will line up in second, but on the inside of the front row. Then it will be Christopher Darling, Christian Ruse, Jeffrey Kleinsma, your top 5. Mettler, McQuaid, Otto, Holland, Vickery. That is the top 10. We've got 22 drivers that still have a shot at this thing in the lead lap. Pace car peels off. Let's see if they can make it at least 6 circuits and get around to the white flag here to finish this thing out in regulation. Green flag waves. Great jump for the 35 of Dobbs.
Yeah. And that's going to give us 6 laps to go here, Seth. Time to settle in. Time to go for it. And if you got anything left, don't leave it on the table now. That's the big thing. There's a bunch of damaged race cars out there that are just looking to pick up points, and you cannot afford to be behind them. And have a look at the guys on the bottom side starting the motor.
Got Ford, Toyota, Chevy, Toyota down there on that inside line. Reese with help from Mettler, with help from Otto. Big push from Mettler is going to get Christopher Reese to the front. Now do they jump up to that top line, or do they stay committed to the double yellow line?
Well, it's going to depend on how much momentum they can pick up. It could be that the top line's just trying to back themselves up just a little bit. They just can't seem to get that push. Going to take them about half a lap surge, and you might start to see the blocks as well, because Reese is at the point here and got a point to prove. Dash for cash. He doesn't want anyone coming by him.
There's also the lone Ford up here. You got to go back to 8th position, the 12 of Sean Lauder, before you find another dark horse Mustang. As more drivers migrate from the middle down to the bottom. Darling slotting into 5th, Vickery into 6th. 3-car breakaway. Now add in Holland in the 19. More drivers going to catch that toe and catch up here to this front 4. Make it now 5. Make it now 6. Here comes the rest of the pack.
Yeah, someone's going to jump out of line there as well. I think that might have been Chris Darling. He jumped out of line, showed it, no one went with him, so he jumped back into the line. Lauder's the head of the outside lane. He's trying to get a few cars behind him to work with him, including Alan Dobbs, and I believe Christian Ruse are both in that outside lane as it currently stands, but they're just not making any momentum.
Remember, Sean Lauder does have a brand new race car, was involved in one of our more recent cautions, but he did have a faster pair to burn. Just doesn't look like he's got the car to lead a line right now. It's just him and Dobbs in that top side. They may get more cars up there. I think I just saw Vickery maybe move up to that top line.
Yeah, Tom Bourne's moved his way back up here as well, so the main pushing units now all back together. And Darling's still got the nose out of line. So he is still thinking about the move. He had jumped out there. He would have done well, but, you know, now they're going to jump out of line yet again. So it's the fourth car that was in line, and all of a sudden that's forced Dobbs to try and take a bit of a check-up. They talked about it at the front end of the field. Here it comes, Seth. They're running out of time. 3 laps to go.
Well, Chris Reese probably had one eye out the windshield, one eye in the rearview mirror. I'll bet he's got both eyes in the rearview mirror now because he's got Mettler all over his back bumper. He sees that second lane coming right now, being led by Dizzy Carter. We've also got Chris Otto and Darling there, a couple of Chevrolets. Will they gang up against the Toyota and Ford? Patrick McQuaid, last year's pole sitter, now up here, trying to crack the top 5.
You gotta go around someone, you gotta do it now. Start building your run. If you wait 2 laps left to run when they cross this start-finish line, you gotta start making your groups. You sort of want to be about 5th place, is about the deepest in the outside line that you want to be about this point in time as well. Darling continues to show that nose. Outside cannot find any momentum. Peyton Holland's actually gonna drop out of it. He's gonna drop back to the inside line. He's never lead on the outside path.
Almost got spun off the nose of Mark Gilbert. Checked up that inside line a little bit.
Here they come.
McQuaid to the top. Vickery's going to go with him. McQuaid back to the bottom. They just don't have the momentum. They don't have the run just yet.
Yeah, I think that was because Vickery dipped out of the line, and I think McQuaid really wants to hook up with Dobbs behind him, but they weren't quite there yet. It was to try and get some momentum. Here comes the run. It's going to be a huge run on the outside line. Here goes McQuaid. Yep, that's the run they were looking for.
Can they make forward progress now? It's going to be Darling moving up there. Oh, McQuaid may have overshot a little. 3 wide. McQuaid stuck. Oh, Rue's going to get spun around, but the white flag was already out. White flag displayed, presented by the Muffler Man. We're coming back to the checkers no matter what.
And there's going to be a lap car. I think there's a car that just come off a pit lane that's going to be down and in this one. Who they're going to catch at this point in time. It's DJ Daniels. Oh, this is dicey. I don't like this.
Christopher Reese, Matt Mettler, Chris Otto. 3 different manufacturers. Oh!
Someone blew an engine.
Blown engine for the 31 through the middle of 3 and 4. Dobbs goes around. Christopher Reese is going to win the Dash for Cash and the Go Crate 325 in one handy package tonight at Daytona. Sometimes to win a super speedway race, you got to be sneaky. The 62 was sneaky tonight. He was laying in the weeds until the right moment. And once he got to the front, nobody was able to get by him.
And Matt Mettler was the car that blew up on the inside lane.
Man. Because of that, Mettler is unofficially crossing the line to the 20th position. That moves Otto to 2nd in the finishing results, and Christopher Darling will snag the final spot on the podium in tonight's season opener. But
What
Christopher, yeah, I mean, wow. Tremendous job by Christopher Reese. And the celebration begins on the front straightaway.
What a win. Yeah, you're right, sneaky. But the key factor was he was in the right spot at the right time. And then it all kicked off behind. Dobbs was trying to make a run. He was trying to build it. You could see that outside lane was forming. Every time they got connected together with multiple cars, they made runs. But people kept jumping up there, blocking it, shutting down the momentum. If they could have had a long stretch where they could have built momentum, they could have been able to do something. But every single time it broke the momentum, they just lost that lead pack more and more and more and more. And that was all that that Ruse needed. Sorry, Chris Reese.
Going to get a congratulatory bump there from Chris Otto. Also got Christopher Darling there as well. Chris's will sweep the podium here tonight at Daytona. It's interesting because I mentioned it at the top of the night. Toyotas looked strong in speed weeks in the shootout and in qualifying. The Chevrolets answered back in the duels. Were we going to see the Fords make their presence known? And a Ford takes the first checkered flag of the 2025 season. Let's take a look at the finishing results here from this one.
Seth, is that 3 Chris's, 3 separate teams.
Yeah.
3 separate teams. So that wasn't one. That was a group of drivers from across different manufacturers, different teams that went, okay, I can't win this on my own. I'm going to work together with the guys that are around me. And that's what got the job done.
It's kind of shades of the Chris Cup series we used to broadcast back in the day on the Flatout Racing Network. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe at least 2 of these guys, Reese and Otto, maybe even Darling, participated in that series. So we might have just gone back in time, had a little flashback there or something. Showed you the top 10. Here's a look at your 11th through 20th. And some good comeback runs for some of the drivers in this one here, too. Alex Little got back on the lead lap and finished in 12th. Who saw that coming in the first half of this race after the hardship he had in the first 60, 70 laps? McClendon able to finish out in 15th place. As you look on down, we had 22 drivers finish on the lead lap. Christian Ruse was involved in that incident just after they had taken the white flag. And several drivers going to finish off the lead lap. Kyle Holden out of the race. Roberge was the last driver running, then Lilith Peters on down were also drivers that DNF'd from this evening's event.
Long
Drivers.
race. Very, very long race.
Yes.
That one. That nearly turned into an endurance race. So I do wonder how many guys needed a bathroom break at some point there in the middle, because 2.5 hours. It's a difficult time. I mean, you know, if you overdrank the water prior to getting the sim, maybe you had a cup of coffee or something just before the race went live, that would certainly get the bowels moving, and you might need to have nicked off to the loo in the middle of that race. So there'll be a few drivers that one finished, they sprinted off to get to the bathroom and relieve themselves. Because as much as it is, you know, a difficult sport to participate in, managing and maintaining them, the drivers in real world, they can just go in their seats, man. You got to wash the suit and whatnot. But I don't know about you, but I'm not necessarily, I don't want to pee in the sim rig. I want to keep that clean. I don't want to have to do the cleaning up.
Absolutely. I'm checking to see here as we head into our FRM post-race wind down. Is Chris McGlashan down there in DDRT? Is that Darling? Or do we not have Darling available?
I don't believe we have Chris Darling available to us.
Okay. Then we will get a hold then. We'll move up the running order and get a hold of the driver that brings it home in the second position here tonight. Let's see if we can dial up Chris Otto. Hey Chris, Scott and Seth up here in the FRM broadcast booth. You got us?
I got you. How's it going?
Well, I'll tell you what. We're exhausted up here in the booth. I can only imagine how exhausted you must be after tonight. Up and down evening for just about every driver in the field, but you were able to work your way up there after the cycle of green flag pit stops, got yourself up there onto the top 3 podium in the closing stages. You're sitting there, most of the cars behind you are double wide. What kind of a strategy did you have planned out there to try and get around the top 2, get this win for yourself?
So once I got 3 wide coming into that final lap, I really didn't think I had much of a plan, because if I backed off the 31 too much, I was just going to be a sitting duck for whoever was going to catch up to me. So really, I just stayed on the 31's bumper until, well, he blew up. I didn't know he was going to blow up. But yeah, he blew up going into 3, and I just didn't have quite enough speed to get to the 62. 31 gave him a good enough shove before he blew up, and I just couldn't quite get there. But yeah, I mean, a major up and down day. I mean, I led a few laps early and then got caught up in some wrecks and had 7.5 minutes of optional. Chose not to use my fast repaired, save that just in case I got caught up in a late race accident. So many trips and a lot of time sitting on pit road, but it all worked out in the end, and I'm very satisfied with the top 2 finish today.
I wanted to touch on that because you mentioned about not utilizing the faster pair. One of very few drivers who did not use that mulligan here tonight. We ended up having multiple cautions in the beginning stages of this race. As you mentioned, you were caught up in a few of them. How difficult was it to balance using that mulligan early on in this race or preserving it for later on in this race, but maybe at the cost of that, finding yourself maybe a lap down due to some pretty bad race damage or something like that, something that you wouldn't be able to, even with the faster pair, be able to mount a comeback with?
Yeah, so I mean, I got really lucky with cautions and how they fell. Initially, when I got all that damage with that wreck on the backstretch, I had my left front was kind of messed up. My steering wheel was probably 25 degrees to the left, and it's supposed to be like 5 degrees to the right. So it was pretty messed up. But I got lucky with cautions, and I was just able to keep coming down pit road without ever using a lap, get about a minute 40-ish seconds of damage fixed each time. And yeah, the cautions just fell at the right time for me. And yeah, even there after the green flag pit stops, I somehow lost the draft with the lead pack, and I'm not sure. I mean, full throttle and everything, just lost the draft. Don't know what happened there. So, but yeah, a caution failed 2 laps after that happened. So just lucky enough, not quite there at the end, just to get around Chris Reese here, but he did a good job, put himself in position at the end of the race, and held his line and did what he needed to do to win the race. So it was a good race, and it's a good job by him to do what he needed to do there.
Man, I mean, sometimes it's better to be lucky than to be talented. I get the feeling that that was a little bit of you tonight.
Yeah, and that's all you need in super speedway racing. It's all luck, no skill. I mean, anybody can come out here and win these races. So you just need a little bit of luck on your side, and to have things go your way to be able to get a good finish. And that's both in sim racing and real life, really. So, but getting lucky and getting a top 2 finish after I was in position for stage points in both stages and then got wrecked at the end of each of them. I mean, I'll take that. Sucks that didn't get stage points, but it is what it is, and we'll bounce back next week and have a good run there at Vegas. I believe is where we're at.
Indeed, that is where we're going to be at next week at Las Vegas, heading from the East Coast to the West Coast. But Chris, congratulations on getting the season started off on a high note, finishing it out here this evening at Daytona in the 2nd position. Before we let you go, we're going to let you have the floor for thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys first and foremost. I mean, for the most part, you guys put on a really good broadcast. I try to watch it when cautions are out. I have it pulled up on my phone. So, I mean, you guys do a really good job up in the booth. Chris Hubka and all his admin team putting this league together. And then, yeah, fiance who lets me run these races later than I probably deserve to run them. But so it's a lot of fun to come out here and run with these guys, and I just hope I can be a contender as the season goes on.
That's Chris Otto, 2nd place here tonight in the Go Creed 325 at Daytona to kick off the season. He'll look to build on this next week as the season continues at Las Vegas. Congratulations on the great run here tonight. Go get some rest and get geared up for next Wednesday night.
I appreciate it, guys. You have a good one.
Chris Otto, 2nd place, and we are able to actually, before we go down to victory lane, we do have our 3rd place finisher here available for an interview, so let's dial up the driver of the number 11, Christopher Darling. Hey, Chris, gotten set up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you. What's going on?
I'll tell you what, we might need to change your last name to Daring, because you were making some pretty daring moves there in the closing stage of this one. At one point, I think you were shooting up the middle 3 wide to get yourself into the top 5. Saw the 31 have the engine failure. You move up there into the 3rd position, but man, a lot of movement here tonight. A lot of drivers having to make moves to gain track position, and we got down there to the final stages of this race. White flag in the air. You had them lined up pretty well behind you, had a big run. What more could you have done to be able to get around them, maybe be able to make this a photo finish and snipe the checkered flag?
I'm not really sure there's too much I could have done there. They were lined up in front of me really well, really sucked up to each other. Obviously, you see the 31 blow up, but yeah, there wasn't really a whole lot. I was kind of just hoping for chaos. The side draft's so strong here. The guys behind me sort of got bogged down, so that didn't help the matter. But I don't know. I'm really happy with 3rd place, so hopefully the momentum just kind of keeps going.
You know, we ended up seeing you gain a lot of track position with a strategy call during that cycle of green flag pit stops. You and the 61 stayed out the extra lap. You were able to cycle around to, I believe, 4th and 5th position. What came into the strategy call for that? Was it to come down a less congested pit road, maybe wait and see what happened with that first big group of race cars? It obviously worked out to your favor. What was the mindset in going that extra lap?
Yeah, there was no mindset there. It was a complete accident. I just couldn't get down. I tried to get down for several laps, and nobody was really willing to give me any room to get down. So that's sort of just what happened. The whole entire field pit on that lap, and I kind of got lucky that Metz was caught out too, or whether he forgot or whether he messed up or maybe he meant to do that. I'm not sure, but that was really lucky. I really
I
thought
can
the whole
chime
race
in.
was over at
Smooth
that
brain.
point, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, 100% smooth brain. I missed pit road whenever one of my cars that I was working with came in. So, yeah, I'm very happy to see you.
You guys
were my
look like
darling.
geniuses. Why are you calling out your mistakes here? You should have just go with and say, yeah, planned that right from the beginning.
One thing you'll learn from me is I make a lot of mistakes while I'm racing, and every single time I literally look back and I'm like, I can't believe I did that. That was a huge blunder. Like 3 laps prior to the pit stops happening, I was trying to get down, and I knew I had to get down. There was an opening, and I still didn't take it. And when it closed up, I kind of looked at my fuel, and I'm like, oh crap, I am absolutely kind of screwed out here. Like there was nothing I could do, and I have no teammates in the field, so I was just sort of winging it all night. I was kind of making it up as I went and hoping I didn't get caught out.
Man, look, I mean, rough night here tonight for a number of guys. What was the driving style like in the early stages? Was it survival? Was it trying to get to the front so that you're ahead of everything? You know, talk us through it.
Yeah, typically I try to stay out front and just try to stay out of it by, not being near it. But honestly, I missed the duels last week, so I had to start in the back. So it really was just survival. I was just trying to stay out of the way for the most part. I still got caught up in a couple of incidents, but I think for the most part, job well done. Stayed out of trouble, and that was really all you could ask for. It was a really long race, so I think when races are this long, you just got to look at it as survival every time.
Well, a job well done indeed. Ending result shows that a job was done well. 3rd place here tonight in the season opener, something to build off of here for the remainder of the regular season as you look to get yourself into the playoffs. A lot of drivers might have been looking at this race as just survive, and you did just that with a good finishing result to show for it. Chris, before we let you go, we're going to give you the opportunity here for some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Yeah. At the risk of sounding generic, just want to give a shout out to Race Control and the guys who run the league. I know it's really hard to put something together, so definitely not easy. I'm glad they do it. Just want to thank them. Also, check out SimRap Guy, my sponsor. That's me. We do paint schemes, all sorts of stuff. So check us out. Enjoy.
That's Christopher Darling, your 3rd place finisher here tonight in the Go Creek 325 at Daytona. Congratulations on the great run. Best of luck next week heading to the West Coast at Las Vegas.
Thanks, guys.
And let's see if we can now head on down to Victory Lane. Dial up tonight's race winner from the season opener at Daytona. Let's get a hold of Christopher Reese. Chris, it's Scott and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, loud and clear, guys.
Man, I'll tell you what, we were asking the question here tonight. The Toyotas look strong in Speed Weeks. The Chevys looked good in Speed Weeks. When were the Fords going to show their hand? And I got to say, when I saw you coming out of turn 4 there, I heard the Larry McReynolds once again, where did he come from quote, because you kind of were hanging back there around the 10th to 15th position for most of this race, but once you got to the front, nobody was able to get around you in these closing stages. You win tonight's season opener and the Dash for Cash. Describe the emotions going through your head in that final run to the Checkers.
Oh man, it was just absolutely awesome. I can't thank Matt enough for sticking with me there and staying bumper to bumper until he blew up to keep me out front. I knew that those guys were going to team up on me and eventually come around the outside, but I just had to try and hold the yellow line and keep my foot in the floor and hope for the best at that point.
We just spoke moments ago with Christopher Darling. He said he had no teammates in the field. He was just trying to kind of make it up as he goes. You Fords here this entire weekend were at a bit of a disadvantage to the Chevrolets and the Toyotas. So, were there drivers that you were looking for, teammates you were looking for, or especially there in the closing stages, was it the old moniker, your friends are where you find them?
A little bit column A, a little bit column B. I would love to have the rest of the guys with Go Papa Go Racing up there with me. Of course, a few of them had some incidents throughout the race and weren't able to get their cars completely fixed, had to use their fast repairs early and so on. And really there towards the end, it was just whoever was going to be willing to work with me is who I was going to work with, whether that'd been pushing or getting pushed.
I mean, tough race out here tonight. Long race as well. We're actually talking about drivers' needs. Have you been to the loo? You've been to the restroom, got out of the rig, or you just been too busy pumped up and celebrating since the result?
I actually had to make a bathroom run during one of the cautions we had early in the race while I was sitting in the pit stall.
Smart decision. Very, very smart decision.
Yeah, Chris, I usually end up asking this, it seems, in every series that we broadcast as well. Early on in the season, playoffs on the line with a victory. How much of a weight does it take off your shoulders to have this win this early on in the season in preparation for the rest of the tracks we got coming up here during the regular season? I mean, does it take pressure off? Do you still keep the pressure on yourself to go out there and get some more victories here before we get to the postseason? Where are you at mentally with this checkered flag in hand to be able to lean back on when we start getting ready to talk about playoffs on the horizon?
Well, it's nice to have that to fall back on. And then on top of that, there's a lot of really, really fast and talented guys in this series. Guys with extremely high I ratings, guys who can just seem like they can put their car wherever they want to, lap after lap after lap, and tires don't matter. Guys that seem like they can pull an extra tenth of a second out of a hat at a moment's notice, during a race when you're just trying to keep the tires on the car. So having this in the bag is definitely, a little bit of a weight off the shoulders, knowing that, you're already in. Now you can just kind of focus on trying to make sure that you're as high as possible in those standings when it comes time for that.
Well, congratulations on the victory here tonight. Hard-fought win here at Daytona. We'll let you get back to your celebrating here, but before we do, Chris, floor is yours for thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
First, Grind Coffee, or Grind for sim racing for the league. You guys at FRN for the great broadcast you guys put on. You guys truly do put on one of the best broadcasts I've had the pleasure of watching. My wife for allowing me to sit here in my rig and do this. WR1 Sim Rigs, Refab Inc., Adrenaline Rush Coffee Company, one of the title sponsors for Go Papa Go Racing. And I think that pretty well covers it for my thank yous tonight, guys.
Well, Christopher Reese, he is your winner in tonight's season opener at Daytona as he takes the Go Crete 325 and the Dash for Cash in tonight's race at Daytona. Congratulations, Chris. Congratulations on winning the Dash for Cash as well. And best of luck here down the remainder of this regular season, continuing next week at Las Vegas.
All right, thank you, guys. See you at Vegas.
Christopher Reese takes the first official points pane checkered flag of the 2025 season. Scott, Daytona is in the books. Some drivers, they were able to tame the beast known as the World Center of Racing. Other drivers, they survived, and other drivers, they'll look to rebound as we head coast to coast, east to west, and they'll try their luck at the gambling track, the Las Vegas Motor Speedway next week.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. Make sure you set yourself up for success. You're going to know when to hold them. You're going to know when to fold them. But, yeah, look, it's going to be a much better one, I feel, next week. Everyone's going to be a lot more aligned. Opportunity to put tires on at the right times, go forward, go backwards, and we'll start to get a better sense of the league. The big thing for the drivers is you want to write off Daytona, and you can and you can't at the same time. You've got to write off all the stuff that was out of your control, but at the same time, could I have done anything better? And that's the question that drivers need to keep asking themselves. Was there anything more that I could have done? And for a lot of drivers out there, in fact, I would say 90% of the field, there's lots of things they could have done to improve themselves tonight. So stuff to work on, but it's a long season, so keep the head down and see what you can pull out.
Long season, and maybe also a silver lining, it's a young season. We're only one race in. Points are going to be very close together. You didn't run well here tonight. You get a top 5, a top 10 next week at Las Vegas, you're going to jump up multiple spots in the point standing. So I think that's got to be in the back of some drivers' minds as well that prefer your 1.5 mile or your speedway racetracks rather than the super speedway that kicked off the season here tonight at Daytona. But long one here this evening. We appreciate everybody that tuned into our coverage here tonight. Congratulations once again to Christopher Reese. He not only wins tonight's Dash for Cash, but also takes the first checkered flag of the season in the Go Crete 325 at at the Daytona International Speedway. Again, next week, a little up in the air. These drivers, they will be heading to Las Vegas for the second race of the season. Not certain if we're going to have coverage for you in that race on the 12th, but we will be back here on the 19th to cover the third race of the season when they go racing at the, well, unfortunately, now defunct 2-mile speedway / super speedway of Auto Club, and we'll have coverage for you at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 19th for sure. Scott, again, long one here tonight, wild one here tonight. The finish was certainly worth sticking around for, and I appreciate you joining me up here in the booth this evening.
Yeah, no worries. It's good to be back. It's good to be broadcasting iRacing yet again, and yeah, I had a great evening. So onwards and upwards to next week, I think.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you all for tuning to our coverage here tonight. Be sure to join us tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we continue on the 64th season for the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series, getting one step closer to their playoffs. But for Scott Rankin, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest, at least if you're on the East Coast, of what's left of your Wednesday night, as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.